All right. Did you miss us? Did you miss us? JB Wins and Dogon SS. We are back once again, continuing on the tradition of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, the Conscious Approach podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. We certainly appreciate you giving us your support as we continue to kick out this logical content. We took a week off for anyone who follows along with us. We took a week off. I had to do some traveling stuff for my daytime job. So bit of a scheduling conflict. We just decided to give ourselves a week off. Figured no harm, no foul. Regroup, come back better than ever. So here we are. Thanks to everybody who has been waiting patiently for us to continue on with this. Before we get things kicked off, as always, I want to say, if this is your first time catching wind of what we like to do here, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, hit the like button, let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video. Also, we are now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. For anyone who prefers to listen to us audio style, if you're not in position to check out the videos, if you're driving in the car, if you're sitting at work, and your manager will get mad because you watching videos on YouTube, just go ahead and pop us on the phone, hit up Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. We are now there in audio form, just trying to be available in any and every way possible. But with that out of the way, man, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off with tonight's proceedings. Have several interesting topics to kick around the can tonight on Conscious Approach. So preemptively, of course, thanks to everybody who chimes in on the chat. And also thanks to everybody who will chime in on the individual video uploads. Without you, we, of course, would not be juiced up to continue to do this. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. And the first topic that we are going to get into today is the Ryan Clark and RG3 saga. So to set this up, we got a lot to get through, and I want to be as precise with timing as possible. So I'm just going to get right into it. For anyone who is unaware, Robert Griffin III, Ryan Clark, both former professional football players for the NFL. They are now in the media. They are talking media heads. They are gas bags. They give their sports opinions, their sports takes. RG3 used to work for ESPN. ESPN fired RG3, not because of anything that he did wrong, but, corporate layoffs. RG3 was let go. Now RG3 is doing his own thing. And he recently, from news that I read, signed with Fox Sports. So he's now over there on Fox with, those people doing his thing. He's no longer on the mothership, formerly known as ESPN. And what got these two going viral, crazy, actually, this was talked about in a lot of different spaces, was, the WNBA season just kicked off. The Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark played the Chicago Sky with Angel Reese. During the game, Caitlin Clark fouls Angel Reese. Angel Reese gets aggressive and acts like she's going to go off on Caitlin Clark. So there's, commentary in the ensuing aftermath of the game. RG3 on his podcast said he believes that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. I did watch this. I got the impression that RG3 was speaking strictly from a basketball competition standpoint. I didn't think that he was getting into anything other than that. He was just saying she hates the girl in a basketball sense. And Ryan Clark on the pivot responded. And only the way Ryan Clark can respond in situations like this. He essentially said RG3 is not qualified to speak in this way because he essentially said RG3 is not qualified to speak in this way because RG3 has a white wife. Oh. And because you're not with a black woman or raising any black daughters, you aren't having conversations about what black women have to go through. And so you aren't qualified to speak on this. RG3 responded by saying that family is off limits. You cross the line. That's not a good look for you, nor is it a good look for ESPN. And eventually, after a standoff, Ryan Clark apologized publicly. So that's pretty much the gist of it. But let's go ahead and get into it so that we don't waste too much more time. I'll try to go through these sequentially. first thing that we are going to talk about, the first thing that we are going to show is Ryan Clark responding to RG3 saying that he believes Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. So this was Ryan Clark saying he believes. This was Ryan Clark responding to RG3 after RG3 said on his show he thinks that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark.
We moved in to being able to read the expressions of a person and know their intent, know their character, know their perspective. But he does understand hate because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese pushed one of her teammates. Caitlin Clark had a hard foul, which is part of basketball. I feel like it was assessed correctly. And Angel Reese's reaction is the sort of reaction you get in a situation when you feel like you took an intentionally hard foul. That's competitiveness. That's rivalry. That's not hate. And so now, though, when RG3 jumps on to the hate train or to the angry train, and now follows along with what we saw from Keith Olbermann, what we saw from Dave Portnoy, as they poured on to Angel Reese to make her the villain in Caitlin Clark's heroic or hero story. Right. The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what Black women have to endure in this country, about what young Black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom. Now, when you look at it, I think A'ja Wilson is the face of the league. A'ja Wilson is the best player in the league. Caitlin Clark is the most important player in the WNBA. And a ton of her fandom has come along with some racial bias or some racial pieces to why people love her so much. And so now, if you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what Black women deal with, what they're seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese. And the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back, amening and clapping. And so to me, it's just another situation that now this young lady has to deal with. When I worked with RG3, he would make all of these sort of corny jokes about milk and how much he loved it and how important it was. And he always points out on social media the color of his wife's skin, as if the color of her skin is what makes her special, as if the color of her skin is what makes her a good wife. I've met the lady, I've had a conversation with her. Right. I think she's more than that. But it also leads to what Black women deal with a lot from Black men who have chose to date or marry outside of their race. They always feel like they have to go the extra mile to prop up the woman that they're married or the woman that they're with over Black women by denigrating Black women. I feel like we should have an opportunity to move past that and understand that Angel Reese can be great in her own right, as Caitlin Clark is as well. Caitlin Clark is a likable and lovable superstar. She pays homage to the stars of the past. She pays homage to the Black women that have come before her. And now she is carrying the mantle forward. So there's no need to pin those two against each other and paint them based on stereotypical tropes. And I think this is what I'd like RG3 to know, that no matter how much he continues to echo the microaggressions of racists, he'll be no less Black than me.
Hold up.
That last part, I do not believe him. I do believe he thinks that RG3 is less Black than him. I do not believe that for 1 second.
That was gold, man.
All right, so but it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there, folks. You know, we're trying to get through it as quickly as we can. So here is Robert Griffin III's response to Ryan Clark and what Ryan Clark had to say.
It's your boy RG3, and I just wanted to get on here and talk to you guys because there's been a lot of buzz, a lot of conversations about my sports take that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, which was purely based in basketball. But I think all of you know there's a line in life that you just simply don't cross. Wives and children are always off limits. And Ryan Clark has sprinted past that line. Ryan Clark didn't like my sports take that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. And that's fine. It's okay. It's part of the game. Sports media, I'm going to have an opinion. This person might not agree with it. That person might not agree with it. But what you don't do is turn around and personally attack me and my family just because you don't agree with a sports opinion that is purely based off the sport. I didn't make it personal. But what that really shows is just how low of a person Ryan Clark is. But Ryan, across the line, man. You made it personal and some. I really believe there should be no space in sports media for personal attacks. I've said it before. But certainly personal attacks against wife and children have always been off limits. Brian, you attacked me and my family in a public forum on a level that's how low of a human being you are.
Damn.
Yeah.
All you want. Challenge my takes, but keep my family and my wife out of it. That's a boundary that should always be respected. Always. Ryan Clark personally attacking me and my family because he disagreed with my sports opinion is a bad look for ESPN. It's cowardly, it's spineless. It's weak. Ryan Clark personally attacking me and my family. Personally, because he disagreed with my sports opinion. It was a bad look for him as a man. I hope you get the help you need, brother.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you can't leave out the hope you get the help you need part. Gotta throw that in there. And so after all of the hoopla and the back and forth, the hugabaloo, the verbal scuffle, Ryan Clark ended up apologizing. So real quick, this says former NFL star Ryan Clark apologizes for dragging Robert Griffin III's wife into Angel Reese debate. Former NFL player Ryan Clark issued an apology to RG3 for bringing his wife into a debate about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. So here's the quote. All of it started over an Angel Reese take that he felt was a sports take that I didn't feel that way about. I felt it was away from the court. I felt it was away from basketball. I took a take that was personal to another person and made it personal to myself, and I shouldn't have done that. I wanted to defend a young black woman, which ended up being an attack on him, he felt, or at least he said, an attack on his family, and that was never the case or never the intent of mine. She should not have been brought up in me trying to make a point about how having black women close to you and the things that you learn from them can help you in the way that you approach and speak to and about them. She didn't need to be the illustration of that. I can speak positively about what they are without making the insinuation that it's something that non-black women don't do well. To Greta or Greet or Gretty, I'm guessing that's his wife's name, RG3's wife's name. I was out of line. I was out of bounds. I apologize to all people who don't like RG's take or takes or the way that he moves. Or even if you just in this conversation take my side and want to support me, leave his family alone. Family should be off limits. I started that by bringing her into it. I see that no matter what my intent was, the impact was different. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it a different way. Clark made the comment while calling out Griffin for boarding the hate train after Reese's scuffle with Clark over the weekend while making Clark quote unquote heroic. So of course that is his opinion that he was making Caitlin Clark. That is Ryan Clark's opinion, rather, that RG3 was attempting to make Caitlin Clark heroic by boarding the Angel Reese hate train. So that pretty much sets the stage for this whole thing. So Ryan Clark went the route of saying, you know, you have a white wife and you don't have any black women close to you, therefore you don't know what black women go through, which makes your comments inappropriate. And clearly Robert Griffin III did not appreciate that very much. The media world has kind of been talking about this a lot over the past week. So what is your initial take on all of this, on this whole fiasco? You kind of feel like RG3 was in the right or Ryan Clark was in the right, somewhere in the middle, they both were wrong? What are your initial thoughts on that?
Let me start off with RG3. So for RG3, I think his take on the situation with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese was a basketball take. It was a sports take. However, I understand where Ryan Clark is coming from because his sports take is through the lens of his worldview. And so what Ryan Clark was doing there was tap dancing, because there's only so much you can say publicly about such a touchy situation. And so he did all of this tap dancing and trying to articulate it in such a way that he was basically just trying to get to the fact that RG3's worldviews is why he's interpreting the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark situation the way that it is. And he thinks that RG3's worldviews is also reflected through the wives that he chose. And you can't, and this is where I'm coming at Ryan Clark, in a sense that you can't do that. Working for ESPN, if you're in a barbershop and you want to call RG3 corny because of his white milk memes and stuff that he likes to do, clearly RG3 has a complex with that. I'm pretty sure, he likes to be, called Jungle Bunny in bed or something. I don't know what he's into, but he's clearly into some type of dynamic with that. And so much so that he posted online, which is why Ryan Clark thinks it's corny and all this other stuff. But so clearly Ryan Clark has something on his chest. He took this as an opportunity to get at RG3. And I feel as though that he should have been wiser about that. And he should have kept that at the barbershop. He should have kept that in between, off camera, off the record. Because the career that he has, even though his job at ESPN is to race bait and make everything this and that, there's a line. And he did a thing where he wouldn't say that on ESPN, but he took it to his own platform. But the thing is, man, when you're working for ESPN, you're working for Disney, whenever you're doing your own thing on your own, podcast, so to speak, you're still under their umbrella. So that's why I think that was a bad look for Ryan Clark. He's entitled to his opinion. I understand where he was coming from with that, but I feel as though he shouldn't have done that. Now he just looks crazy. Now RG3 can step back and say, I was just talking sports. Now you want to drag my wife into this, my family. Come on, playing ultimate victim here. And RG3 did his thing. And I'm pretty sure he has some type of beef with ESPN for how he got let go. And he's taking this as an opportunity to not only throw Ryan Clark under the bus, in the sense that if you want to talk about me and my preferences and whatever, I'm going to take aim low key at your job too. This is not a good look for ESPN. ESPN, now that's going to cause some type of ripple effect potentially. And
there's speculation. I gotta look into this a little further, but I read somewhere that ESPN essentially made Ryan Clark apologize.
Yeah.
So the ESPN had to have been involved.
Yeah.
In the whole apology aspect of it.
And with that, it's a situation where Ryan Clark is going to have to tread lightly. So I think that this was I don't think Ryan Clark should have did that. Poor Fred Taylor, just sitting there, just having to agree with bro. Like, what are you gonna do? Disagree? So I think they should have left that on the cutting room floor. So that's my initial thoughts there. I think that these are two opposing worldviews. Oh, last thing is that, through all of this hugabaloo, as you like to say, online, I found out that, Ryan Clark, has got a white baby mama somewhere in the mix there. So, I don't know what he's doing now, but he's dabbled into the white milk situation himself. So I don't know why he feels as though he's Umar Johnson right now, but here he goes. But what are your thoughts, man, on the Ryan Clark RG3 beef? Do you feel as though one side is right, the other's wrong? What are your thoughts, bro?
I'm more with Robert Griffin III, except when it comes to the leaning into and the white milk and the borderline fetishization. That's where it ends with me.
Yeah.
But with respect to this particular situation, I'm more with Robert Griffin III. Now, I hear what you're saying when you say that it's Robert Griffin III's worldview that informs the way that he perceives the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese dynamic. But I got to be honest with you. Either I have the same exact worldview as Robert Griffin III, or it is what it is. Because I've been following these two since they were in college. And I do think that Angel Reese has some sort of an axe to grind against Caitlin Clark. I do think that. And I do think that for her is personal. Going all the way back to when they were in college, Angel Reese went out of her way to personally antagonize Caitlin Clark. Like Angel Reese made it about Caitlin Clark specifically, and people tried to equate the behavior between the two, but I didn't really buy that because Caitlin Clark, whenever she trolled, she would just troll in general. Like she would do her thing during games, but she never really antagonized players specifically unless they got into a back and forth during the game with fouls and stuff like that. But generally speaking, Caitlin Clark never really personally antagonized other players specifically, whereas Angel Reese kind of specifically antagonized Caitlin Clark. And then, going into the WNBA, there's been a little tit for tat back and forth. Not to mention the fact that Angel Reese went into a post-game press conference. I believe this was while she was still at LSU. I can't remember when. This was either during her rookie year or when she was finishing up at LSU. And she said, if y'all want to make me the villain, I'll be the villain. I'm happy doing that. Like she said that. So Angel Reese has done herself no favors in creating this perception that she has a personal axe to grind against Caitlin Clark. And I perceive it to be that way as well. And so maybe me and Robert Griffin III have the same worldview, but I kind of feel like he wasn't totally out of bounds by saying, now maybe using the word hate is a bit strong. Maybe the word hate, maybe you can use a different word, but I kind of feel like the sentiment of Angel Reese having something personal against Caitlin Clark isn't out of left field. And I don't think that it means, therefore, that you have to analyze Robert Griffin III's personal situation in order to come to a conclusion as to why he would come up with that idea. But I think the reason why Ryan Clark went there is because I believe Ryan Clark, ironically, has something personal against RG3.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so he used that as his opportunity to sort of pour salt on the wound because he either doesn't like RG3 as a guy or isn't a fan of RG3's personal decisions. And we see this a lot, whenever you become that guy who is publicly known as, the one who likes to swirl, depending on the individual, there are going to be people who spare no expense to put that into the conversation whenever it comes to that particular individual and whatever they have to say or do or how they conduct themselves professionally. And I kind of feel like Ryan Clark feels some type of way about the fact that RG3 is cut from that cloth. And so he used this as an opportunity to go there. I didn't really like it because I kind of felt like Robert Griffin III didn't really say anything that out of bounds. But again, this is just me looking at what he said and saying to myself, I kind of see where he's coming from because I as well also feel like Angel Reese has something personal some sort of a personal axe to grind against Caitlin Clark for whatever reason. But here's the thing, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with a little personal animus and hate in sports. Like, I kind of feel like that's good for the spirit of competition. So I don't really have an issue with that. If Angel Reese came out tomorrow and was like, I don't like Caitlin Clark, I'd be like, good, I can't wait to watch their next game.
Agreed.
Like, it is what it is. Like, the spirit of competition is heightened whenever there is a bit of a personal axe to grind, as long as things stay within reason. So I didn't think that was an unreasonable take. So because I didn't feel like that was an unreasonable take, I am therefore led to believe that Ryan Clark went that far because he has something personal against RG3 for whatever reason, whether it's the way he carries himself, some of the things that he may have said previously, maybe the stuff that Robert Griffin III has said about his personal preferences rubbed him the wrong way, which, like I said, I don't really get into all of that superiority complex stuff. I kind of feel like if you want to date and marry white women, that's your prerogative. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with that necessarily, but don't prop it up as if it's like a superior preference. And if that's something that Robert Griffin III does, then I can understand why a person like Ryan Clark will be rubbed the wrong way, so much so to take it to a personal level when it comes to an otherwise innocuous sports take, in my opinion. So I don't really think that this is a situation where anybody was right or wrong. I think it's a clashing of, as you put it, worldviews. But I do kind of think that Ryan Clark took it somewhere unnecessarily for things that don't really have anything to do with the way Robert Griffin III typically does his job.
Yeah, and that's why I feel as though he's jeopardizing, his podcast and his other stuff that he's got going on with a take like this, because as you mentioned, this seems a bit personal between Ryan Clark and RG3. It's so ambiguous. It's so, this isn't a situation where it's like typical ESPN race baiting and Ryan Clark has an assignment and they say, hey, take this side of whatever's going on. And he's got the backing of ESPN and, whatever. If he rubs viewers the wrong way, well, that's his role anyway. His role is to say certain things about race on ESPN.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, not to cut you off, but I think that Ryan Clark, in the moment that he made those comments, felt protected.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, the way that ESPN, there's a singularity when it comes to ESPN commentary. We've talked about this. And when you start to kind of pull on that thread of racial victimhood, Black women victimhood, Black people victimhood, those statements might be controversial on the surface, but over at ESPN, you're kind of speaking in a friendly space.
Agreed.
And so I kind of feel like, he felt like he could go there safely because he didn't think he'd be reprimanded by ESPN, because that's the kind of rhetoric that they welcome over there.
Exactly. And they welcome the rhetoric, but this was a little too specific.
Right.
This was a little too specific. And anybody, with any level of consciousness knew exactly what he was saying when he was going on that roundabout little whatever. That can get boiled down into 2 or 3 sentences, very direct, and it'll rub everybody the wrong way. So nobody's dumb here. So him using all of these words and saying your wife is more than that, it's like, look, bro, I don't hear that. But that's him trying to, sweep dirt under the rug, cover himself. Yeah. Like, nah, bro, like you're saying this already. So stand on all of this.
That's the poop sandwich. That's the Stephen A. Smith poop sandwich.
Man. Might want to hear that, man. So yeah, I feel as though that he thought he was protected. He thought he was following the script, but ESPN gives you a script. You can't come up with your own and say this is what ESPN would be okay with. And clearly they weren't. So I know on the pivot he's tackled, race things there too. But like I said, they're generally about situations that are, quite broad. And you can talk about social injustice and systemic racism and all of these, things. And, you just giving all of these, buzzwords, people will go, oh, okay, well, yeah, but this was very targeted, basically saying that because you date white women, you lack perspective in life. Yeah. And that's why you went like that instead of like that. You snapping your fingers. And I know your wife was in the background going, yeah. How you know that? Yeah. Unless she was back there. I didn't see her. I don't know. So for him to be doing all of that was too much. Yeah. So as much as I would say that, hey, Ryan Clark, I might agree with you. I do think RG3, worldviews are a little skewed. I hear him, and this is my thing with RG3, because I couldn't stand him whenever he was calling games, because he would do the stuff I used to accuse Ryan Clark of, making the black joke. So whenever there's a football game and he's calling a game, he's talking all of this stuff. Yeah. And it's annoying, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, hey, he threw that like it was a watermelon. He didn't really say that. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean. He was always bringing up, it's like, okay, bro, we get it. Like, you're on social media a lot and trends. Like,
you're right.
Enough with the bringing up the, like, yeah, I feel what you're saying. Like, he was very, it's like he just couldn't help himself. He was always bringing up the cultural references, the puns, the viral trends. He was always infusing that with his game calling, and it got in the way of the quality of the calling.
100%. Yeah. But to me, I equated that to like tap dancing at an all-white function. Yeah. And so there's an all-white function. You're the black guy, so you're coming with the rhythm and the black jokes, and he's doing that on air. And so it was corny, and it was annoying. And honestly, it was insulting to me. So I'm like, hey, man, I don't care for that. And so, and I can separate things. I'm a big boy. I can separate stuff. I know what's going on. But to me, I felt as though he was doing a lot of pandering. So I do think RG3 has some type of complex situation going on with himself. And Ryan Clark spending enough time with the guy took, like we said, just took this as an opportunity to try to highlight that. But just let that man do him, Ryan Clark, just let RG3 do him. If he's digging himself a grave, continue to let him dig a grave, but don't give him an out. And this situation gave RG3 an out. If Ryan Clark is indeed correct, it gave RG3 this cover to go, hey man, you talking about my family? You're out of bounds, man. You crossing lines and all of that good stuff, man. So it is what it is with these guys. But yeah, man, because I was real critical of Ryan Clark. He cleaned things up with me a little bit. He'll say things here and there. I go, all right, well, he's not a complete clown.
They must have told him. They must have told him to stop. That's probably why. They probably told him to stop.
Yeah, he stopped getting on my nerves as much. And then here he goes with this one. It's like, damn, bro, what the hell are you doing, bro?
Yeah, the thing about Ryan Clark that always annoyed me was I kind of put him and Robert Griffin III in the same boat. But I guess because Ryan Clark's public persona is more black than RG3's, Ryan Clark gets away with it more. But he was always the guy in the majority white room, trying to flaunt his blackness.
Yeah, 100%.
By referencing all of the hood classics. He was always dropping movie lines that come from the hood classic movies and mentioning the rappers and the hip hop and the songs and the rap lyrics. Like, he was just doing it obsessively. Every time he's on Get Up, First Take, or any of these shows, here he goes with the black references. And it's like, look, bro, just be the professional black man who carries himself above board and does a great job. Thank you. That actually makes black people look better than you copping to these low-hanging fruits of referencing hood classics and rap songs. So to me, Ryan Clark was just as guilty in that regard as RG3, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
But I kind of feel like, look, but what separates them two, and this is the last thing that I'll say, when you become the guy, and I can speak to this from personal experience, when you become someone who is known as someone who dates, sleeps with white women, it stays with you, and you will have a moving peanut gallery that spares no expense to bring it up, no matter what the situation is. And just to personalize it real quick, because I have personal experience with this. Now, I'm not trying to say that me and RG3 are in the same category, because I kind of feel like I've been the same person this whole time. So, like, I'm not going to get into a room and try to make everybody well aware of how black I am by making it known how much rap music I know or how many Black Hood classics I've seen. Like, I don't give a crap about any of that. So I've been the same person throughout. But have I dated outside my race, specifically with white women? Yes, I have, just being totally transparent. And when you become known for that, there is a proverbial target that gets put on your back, and it can become annoying. For 10 years I was a cook, worked part-time at a restaurant. And throughout my tenure working there, my personal preferences became public knowledge. And so, there was the peanut gallery that I had waiting on me every single day that I showed up to work. And, it's like, for the most part, you can kind of shake it off, because I hear most people say, live your life, do what you do. Don't let what people have to say affect you. It shouldn't bother you. And for the most part, I do agree with that. But if you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. Sometimes you don't want to hear this stuff. And for the most part, I'd show up to work minding my own business. I just want to get through the shift, do my thing, have a good night so I can go home. And some of these individuals, mostly black women, they just heckled me. I was like a bad comedian having a bad stand-up set. It didn't matter what I did or what I said. They would find a way to bring it up. Like, I could walk into the building and I could be like, man, the weather's real nice outside today. And somebody will just pop out from the corner somewhere and they'll say, yeah, but you like them white girls, don't you? And like, bro, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. It was really that. It was really that.
Wow, bro. I didn't know it was like that out here.
Yeah. It was really that pervasive. There was nothing that I can do or say. Now, mind you, never mind the fact that while I worked there, I was also very visibly with black women as well.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. If I was with one white girl, it just erased all of that. And so into perpetuity, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter what I said or did. Here came the peanut gallery roasting me every single day for this. Like, I couldn't get, like, it was an everyday thing. If I worked 5 shifts a week, I dealt with it 5 days a week. I couldn't serve a plate. I couldn't do anything, say anything. I couldn't make a joke. I couldn't say a comment without one of them saying something about it. It was just never ending. And so, I didn't invite any of that. I'm just minding my own business, living my own life, having my own experiences, and doing what I want to do. But there were several people throughout my time working there who just spared no expense to bring it up. They refused to let it go. They kept peppering me with it every day. And for the most part, I could get over it. But there were days where it got to me, and I would just get annoyed and just clap back, because it's like, hey, look, man, I'm just trying to serve you this rib plate. Like, can we put it down? Like, can we just lay it to rest for 5 minutes so I can do my job? Like, do you have to bring it up every single time? So it can just get aggravating. It really can. It can get annoying. And so I'm not trying to make excuses for Robert Griffin III and his propensity for pandering or his apparent superiority complex, because I do sense that about him. But at the same time, dealing with that can be aggravating. And so if that's his way of lashing out because of how annoying it can get, to have to deal with that on a constant basis, I can somewhat empathize with that because I know what that feels like. It still doesn't excuse propping up your personal preference as if it's somehow inherently superior to another person's. I don't agree with that. So that part I don't like. So all of the weird jokes and how you like milk, I would never talk like that. I just think that that's weird energy. But at the same time, if I'm being frank, a lot of us, we target people who kind of walk in that light, and we just refuse to let it go. And I've lived that personally, so I kind of know how annoying it can be. But otherwise, I kind of feel like, and I don't know RG3 from a can of paint, but it's like, bro, don't force blackness in any particular context. Just be who you want to be, bro. Like, don't do this thing because it invites that kind of scrutiny from people like Ryan Clark. Even if Ryan Clark is guilty of doing the same thing, because publicly, no one's going to go at Ryan Clark for that because he's curated an image for himself as being far more black than you. So it's like, just don't code switch, bro. Be who you want to be, but that can be pretty aggravating. So it's definitely a nuanced conversation, but I kind of think both of them can be clowns from time to time, for sure. I don't think either one of them is absolved, but I do kind of think Ryan Clark went there because of a personal animus he has towards RG3, and I don't think it had much to do with any sports takes.
Yeah, I agree, man. And so, we'll see how this pans out. I think I knew of them beefing before this. I don't think this is anything new or whatever. I think Ryan Clark has it out with a couple of people out here in the media streets. So I'm not surprised he's having this back and forth with RG3, man. But yeah, man, interesting dynamic, very nuanced for sure. But hey, let us know down in the comment section, y'all. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys agree with Ryan Clark that RG3 is just some cornball with some type of complex, which is why he was hating on Angel Reese? Or do you guys agree with RG3 and say, hey, man, it was just a sports take, bro. Don't attack me and my family. Let us know down in the comment section, guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I can imagine if this video gets served up on the algorithm, it's going to be people in them comments. Oh, I knew JV Wins was one of them.
Hey, man, the peanut gallery don't stop, baby.
Yeah, it never ends. It never ends, does it?
Hey, man, but to be fair, bro, that's like Tallahassee culture, man. Like when I started working at Walmart, bro, that was the whole thing, bro. It was every day something, So,
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's everywhere. I think,
I mean, no, they were doing that now.
Yeah.
But it's also Tallahassee work culture.
Oh,
man.
I see what you mean. Yeah. No, I mean, but I was doing my thing even outside of work though. So, my whole thing has always been just exploring my options. I've always, and I've said that on this channel that I made the decision when I was younger to explore every option just to kind of get those experiences. Now, did I know that it was going to come along with my personal peanut gallery? No, I was not aware of that. I just thought that I was living life. But it is out there and it does follow you. So, it can get annoying is all. My whole point is that can be very aggravating to live with.
No, 100.
When you constantly, no matter what the situation is, have people who are going to throw that in your face every chance they get, even if it's unrelated to the conversation that you're having.
I didn't mean to laugh, man. It's just wild that people do that. I didn't know that was a thing, bro.
Oh, they do it, bro. Yeah. I mean, it's fun. You can laugh. It is funny, but yeah, it happens.
Sheesh.
Now, on a lighter note, we are going to get to female hip hop personality. I don't call her a rapper. I feel like that word is not appropriate for what she does personally, in my opinion. But Latto made some interesting comments about rapping about her low body count. So, because these women really don't do anything but talk about sex in their music for the most part, one of the things that has made Latto distinct from other female rappers is that she makes it a point to rap about how low her body count is. Now, one, if you are familiar with Latto's music, this might come as a counterintuitive notion given the nature of her music. Her music tends to be pretty sexually charged. But according to her, she has a low body count and she is defending herself against talking about her low body count in her music. And there's people out there who don't believe her, and so she's defending herself against that. There's people who are saying you don't really have to talk about that in your music. You can talk about something else, and she's defending herself against that. And so there's just a whole lot of hoopla around this chick's, alleged sex life. So this says Latto sparks intense debate over her decision to rap about her low body count. Typically, when rappers flex about their attractiveness towards the opposite sex, it's usually to show off how many people they have been with. But for Latto, she's historically veered left of that tradition. On countless tracks, the Columbus, Ohio-born femc has bragged about her low body count. She claims that she can count on one hand the number of guys she slept around with.
Oh Lord.
However, as you could imagine, people have a hard time believing her. It could be for a few reasons, with one just being her status as a big-time artist. With that usually comes the predisposition that you are definitely having one-night stands left and right. Another reason could be that Latto is just attractive to a lot of folks out there, which is usually a compliment more than a knock. But even though fans don't really bat an eye when it comes to those who talk constantly about their high body counts, a lot have an issue with Latto boasting about the opposite. She's drawing some criticism from the internet right now, thanks to her staunchly defending her decision to do so. Latto recently collaborated with rising streamer and content creator Ty Lil and discussed a myriad of things. While outside of a convenience store, they got on this subject. In the clip obtained by the Neighborhood Talk, Talil gets on Latto and wonders why anyone would give the F about her low body count claim. Overall, the Sugar Honey Iced Tea creator feels that she has every right to, because it's her music. Overall, you really can't argue with that. Talil doesn't agree with the decision because it sounds like he thinks she's lying about it. Latto hit back with saying as long as her still mystery man believes that, it doesn't matter what others think. This debate got the internet into an intense one as well, with some seeing no issue and others not buying in like Talil. I like Latto, but her personality seems performative in this vid. One IG user writes, still don't believe her, LOL, another harshly states. So here is that exchange between these two. And here is her defending against rapping about, her low body count in her music.
Do you care how many bodies your girl got?
Nah, I don't know. I don't got nothing to do, man.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Why you always saying that in your music? That's little now. On my mother, now stop that now. Odo, stop saying that, bro.
Stop saying what?
Why you always saying in your song how much bodies you got though? Who gives a fuck?
Whoever said? I said I have a low body count.
No,
That's
you
all I said.
you always make it seem as if you could count your bodies on one hand.
I
really
can
listen to
though.
you.
I can though.
But why does that matter though?
Same
It's
reason
not
why
that-
bitches say
Listen,
and fuck your nigga today and fuck
Listen,
that nigga tomorrow.
But listen, why does that?
But it's just like
Listen,
it's true to her though.
listen. Why
This
does
is my music.
listen?
If I go,
Listen.
if I go in the booth
Listen.
and I write my
Listen.
music, bitch, I'm gonna pop my
Listen.
real life.
Listen.
In real life,
Listen.
I got pop.
Listen. Why does that matter? And it's up to us to believe.
Why do
though.
it matter that you got on Bottega on your feet?
All right, so
It's your life.
You think they believe you?
I don't give a
They
fuck
don't
if they
got
believe me. My nigga believe me.
Listen, but I like you don't gotta say that though, because like you
I
lying.
say my real life. I'm not
Mine is
lying.
crazy.
That ass.
I'm not lying.
That's facts. Both.
Don't be
both.
mad. Don't be mad.
But
Got
so why you never say
that
that-
squeaky clean. Don't be mad.
That's true.
Fuck that. If I'm famous as fuck, if I had more than that, these niggas will be popping out the woodworks. Oh God.
I hate the way these people. I hate the way these people talk. but whatever. I'm an old guy. So what did you think about that? Are you buying the criticism? Are you buying the idea that she's not even telling the truth? What do you make of this situation with her even commenting on this in the first place?
This is normally reserved for men, what I'm about to say. In the sense that, the guy that's in the room bragging about his body count, how much money he got, how much motion he has, how much he'll, whoop somebody, is normally the person that ain't about any of that. As Lil Wayne said, man, real G's move in silence like lasagna. And if you really about that life, there's really no need to talk about it. Now, you can flex in your music, if that's how you really feel about it, because if she traditionally talks about her low body count in her music, well, that is what that is. And that's a lot better than talking about having 3,000 bodies like our girl that we covered. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is better. Okay. But at the same time, for her to just randomly bring that up while they're doing their stream, asking him about, his girl's body count, or, to me, that does come off, as the comment said, as performative. Why are you bringing that up now? Just so you can flex, or, it's just weird. It's odd. So I typically don't believe that. Whenever somebody just volunteers information of that sort, I normally go, it's probably the opposite, or just not as true as they're trying to make me believe. Like, I don't need you to sell me that. There's some things that people are just walking around and they don't have to sell it to you. You can already pick up that vibe and that energy. The vibe and the energy that she gives off is that she used to be a stripper, or walked the streets, or got flown out. That's the energy she gives me. So she has to tell people that it's the opposite, so they look at her differently.
Exactly.
So for her to be running around and always parading this is what makes me not believe it. If she really has a low body count, that transitions to her overall energy set. Last thing I'll say. Like when they say in church and stuff like that, and like, oh, when you have premaritals with somebody, it's an energy exchange, and that is very true. It is an energy exchange. You are getting a energy exchange. I mean, you're literally interlocking with another human. Okay. When that happens, you carry that with you. Okay. When you carry these bodies with you, they translate in how your eyes look, how you choose to dress, how you walk, things that you choose to say, the profanity that you use, if you're a woman, maybe even a man. All right. And it's literally on you. So it's you can have on the best clothes, just took a bath. It's in your vibration. It's in your energy set. It's what you give off. And what Latto gives off is that she done been, clapped up a whole bunch of times by different people. Okay. More than one hand. So that's what her energy gives off. That's why the streets really don't believe it. So she can keep talking till she blue in the face, but I don't think many people are going to buy it. And so long as she feels good and she can sleep at night, I guess that's all that matters. But me personally, I am a gambling man, and I would pick the over on at least 5. I would pick over on that. 5.5, give me the over. But what are your thoughts, man, on Latto running around here saying that, hey, man, she's got a low body count, so low you can count her on one hand. You buying this, bro?
I want to give her the benefit of the doubt because I don't know her personally. What I'm finding it hard to give her the benefit of the doubt, however, because of her music, which is kind of what you alluded to. I process information conventionally. I kind of feel like if you're the type of person whose spirit is living life in a means that is going to render you to have a low body count, then I kind of feel like that same spirit would also cause you to make music that speaks in that same energy.
You would think, right?
Right. But she clearly doesn't make music in that same energy. So I'm just confused. And I don't know which it is. If she's telling the truth, shame on her, because why not live more in that energy through your art? And if she's lying and her body count is actually higher, shame on her, because she's living in that spirit where she has a high body count and thinks it's cool. Either way, shame on her as far as I'm concerned. I kind of feel like you, and this is what I've been saying, man. There's a general theme inherent in a lot of these topics that we discuss. Generally, people are who they are. Money and fame and notoriety only magnify your baseline human characteristics. So I am inclined to believe that the kind of person that she presents herself to be publicly, now that she's on in a celebrity sense, is who she's always been. And if she has a low body count, despite the fact that she behaves in the manner that she behaves, there are some deeper questions that we need to ask with respect to why feel the need to conform to that kind of behavior when you're not actually living in that energy. I don't understand that. She has definitely been indoctrinated underneath a particular form of social conditioning that would have her behaving that way, despite the fact that her sexual history, if true, suggests otherwise. And maybe that's a deeper layer that we need to peel back. But on the surface, I hear a lot of what you're saying, and I agree. It's interesting. I think the reason why you do talk like that, even though it's not really who you're about, is the same reason why a lot of the male rappers who are living in that low vibrational energy talk about how many people they've unalived or how many bricks they sell, even though they're not actually doing this. Because if they were actively doing it, they'd be in prison. See, all the rappers who are rapping about it who were actively doing it eventually either got killed or are currently in prison. There are no exceptions to this. You don't just do this into perpetuity and continue to get away with it and make music about it. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. Eventually, the banding up does occur. But they do it anyway because they have to live up to that moniker. But are they really living it like that for real? No, they're not. But that's what you have to kind of deal with and manage when you're in that space. And I guess now we're witnessing women who have to do the same thing. I guess now women are in that same low vibrational energy of leveraging sex and sexuality 24/7 through their music. So even if they're not actually doing it, they have to play it up and rap about it as if they are, because that's their place in this particular dynamic. So whereas the guys are doing the brick selling and the unaliving, even though they're not really living that life, the women are doing the body count talk. Whether they're living it or not, they have to play up the body count talk. And for her, why talk about your body count if it's actually low? I don't understand that. That's weird. It's like she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. It's like she's trying to take advantage of the female contribution of hip hop, which is sex and sexuality and sex appeal, but also trying to be above reproach somehow, because even though she talks about it, she is morally absolved because her body count is low. I don't understand it. I don't know how you psychoanalyze that one. But to me, it's just a lot of word salad. I kind of feel like if you're really living in that high vibration of a traditionally low body count, then your music would speak to it. And it doesn't. So at the very least, I'm left to conclude that she is nothing more than a confused individual.
Yeah, her music would speak to it, or just her as a person. Every time I hear about Latto, it's her wearing something scantily clad and clapping ass. And I'm sitting there scrolling, looking for topics, and the topic whenever it's Latto is that jaw-dropping picture, or she's on stage, the internet's going crazy over her twerk session. I'm like,
right,
man,
yeah,
what kind of crap is this, man? Like that, yeah. Is that a story? Apparently it is. Now you can twerk, dress scantily clad, and all all of that stuff, and not be giving it up all the time, I guess. But again, bruh, when you're dealing with these charlatans, they like to live in the realm of plausible deniability. And the only thing that she's given here is, plausible deniability. All the guys will be coming out the woodwork. Guys don't really do that. Guys don't come out and say, I clap that. I clap that. Guys don't do that. Girls will do that. Oh yeah, he in my DMs and all that stuff. That's what girls do. But guys, what I'm saying? If there's a guy right now that she's sneaking with that her man don't know about, he's not going to come out. Why? He's going to be clapping that into perpetuity.
Correct.
He wants to keep his mouth shut. So I can't go for this. All right, bruh. Bruh, I told you, bruh, like I forgot what topic it was, man. I'm legit, bro. I'm like 19, I'm 20, you know what I'm saying? Running the wild streets of Miami, bruh. Meeting these girls that I'm like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? You know, straight out of high school, everybody's straight out of high school, man. I'm thinking that, you know, everybody's fresh. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey man, so what's up? I'm asking the dumb questions. Hey man, how many, you know what I'm saying? How many dudes you done been with? You know, then I start realizing they all kept telling me 3. They all kept telling me 3, and they'll give me these nice little stories. And I'm like, how all these girls only had 3 guys? I'm like, what? Then I'm like, hey man. Then we started doing stuff, and I'm like, there's no way this was 3 guys. Where did you learn this from? You know what I'm saying? So then it got to a point I was like, I don't think I want to know. I'm 19, 20, bro. I ain't want to know no more. I don't know how old Latto is, all right, but she done been around. You know what I'm saying? She done been around. You know, it's probably been 5 this year. But I'm not going for a lifetime. I can't go for that. That's why I said I'll take the over. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the over on that. Put that on Prize Picks. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the over on that. Straight cash out. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm not buying this. I don't buy it whenever that information is volunteered. If I'm talking to somebody and we talking, I can gauge. You know what I'm saying? Not the exact number. I can gauge how much you've been in the game, how much you've been out here. And my thing is, if you out here, I don't want nothing to do with you. If you were in the game and you know you were just being a knucklehead yourself, or you know this and this and that, this happened, that happened, and it's like, okay, you was out here, you was messing around, but you know what I'm saying? You were messing around in a way where, you know, you were still trying to find something, you know. Then it's like, okay, well, you know, that's whatever. I can mess with you because that's how my numbers is the way it is. But if there's a situation where you were just in the game, you know, you let the whole football team hit it. You know, you let the whole dorm hit it. You let all the frat dudes hit it. You know, that person. You know what I'm saying? No shade if y'all out here watching. But I don't want to deal with that. Because that don't go nowhere. So yeah, man, I can't jive with that kind of energy set. And to me, Latto gives me that energy set that she done been in the game. So she could tell me one thing, but the plausible deniability thing is another thing. And I think she's playing that card, and I don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy it either. And even if she is telling the truth, again, I lose tremendous respect for people who fake the funk. If that is the case, then why conform to a low vibrational form of art by essentially tonally making the kind of music which overtly suggests that you're about that life? Like, I at the end of the day, I really do feel like we are who we are. And I think people who live on a high vibration, it's going to speak through their behavior and their actions and their decision making, which manifests itself in the way that they perform their job, in the way that they create art. You know, Alicia Keys, for example, couldn't have made the kind of music that Latto makes. I don't think she isn't intrinsically built in such a way to make music like that, because she's not cut from that cloth. She's more of a high vibration. You know, so and that's not to equate I'm not necessarily trying to compare their musical sensibilities, because Alicia Keys, you know, she's a trained pianist. She's talented beyond measure. Latto is just a hip hop star as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not trying to compare them in that way. It's just to make the general point that the kind of music that you are going to make is going to speak to your essence as a human. And Latto's music speaks to the essence of a human that has a high body count, not a low one. So even if she does have a low one, I lose respect for the fact that she makes music like that, because I just don't respect the fact that you're going to make music like that, despite the fact that you aren't really like that. So it is what it is. You know, I'm kind of with the guy, whoever this Tylil guy is. I don't know who that is, but I'm kind of with him. I'm just like, why even broach it in the first place? Like, you know, like I said, it's like she's trying to live in two different worlds. She's trying to live in the world where she gets to conform to the tone of popularized female rap, but also be morally above board. Because even though I make music like this, y'all can't really criticize me or come for me because my body count is actually low. And it's like, no, you're not gonna have it both ways. Like you're not gonna have it both ways, because people like me are just gonna call you out for being a liar and a deceiver, which doesn't really put you in any higher standing than than any of these chicks who rap about the opposite of a low body count and are actually telling the truth about it.
Well, man, Brittany Renner was saying she only had 30-something bodies. You know what I'm
35,
saying?
right? I think it was 35.
Yeah, man. And then they played that clip for Boosie, and Boosie was like, you know what I'm saying, 35. He was like, I had to start multiplying. So if she's doing her thing, man, what she's saying is on one hand, then start multiplying, man, but not going for it. Can't buy this. I don't know who she's convincing with this, but it damn sure ain't me.
Well, you know what J. Cole said in that song? She said she only been with 4 or 5 dudes, so you know you got to multiply by 3.
Yeah, man.
Like that's been the general rule. Unwritten rule amongst men is whatever the number the woman gives you, multiply it by 3, and that's what the actual number is.
Because they do other things that circumvent the count. First of all, you're letting them do an audit on their own life. Let's go there. There's no third party with this. Then on top of that, they omit people that don't count. If it was a one night, it don't count. If
they make up their own.
That guy was an asshole, so he don't count. No.
Yeah. They make up their own rules. They like I've met some who only count men who were either legitimate boyfriends or guys who they exclusively slept with for a prolonged period of time. But they didn't define it. Like I've actually met women who told me they do that. Like they disregard the other ones and only count the ones that were actually defined, or it was like there was some exclusivity when it comes to that for a long period of time. And it's like, look, man, if he hit, it counts. You're not gonna fake the funk on that. So I don't know.
I was born in the morning, man, but I wasn't born this morning. I tell you.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, even if she is telling the truth, I just don't like the fact that she's conforming to this. Like, then live in that spirit. Why live in a low spirit if you're not actually living in a low? Why make music in a low spirit if you're not living in a low spirit? I can't respect it, but I don't respect most of these female rappers. So that's nothing new.
Unbelievable.
And next up, we are going to get into interesting comments made by AJ Brown. AJ Brown, star wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, who was recently speaking to a group of youths at the Delaware County Juvenile Probation Office. And he got onto an interesting topic talking about NFL players and their various proclivities. Amongst them, he got into, NFL players. You can really extrapolate this to male pro athletes in general, I believe. Well, in the black dominated sports, at least, but he got into their tendencies to objectify women physically, and he kind of went down a rabbit hole talking about a lot of different things. So this was interesting. It says AJ Brown says NFL players are prone to objectifying women, struggle with porn. AJ Brown is speaking about the perils of being a successful NFL player, especially when it comes to their relationships with women. A video of Brown speaking to a group of people, which the Toronto Sun reports were teens at the Delaware County Juvenile Probation offices in Pennsylvania, shows the wide receivers shedding light on how success can warp a player's mind. So I'm not going to read the quotes because I'm going to play the video. Brown also talked about porn and how it can affect one's brain. Again, not going to read the quotes. So, I don't want to read the quotes. Brown added that his teammates and other players can sometimes objectify women. The NFL has seen its fair share of sexual assault allegations among its players. Most recently, Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker was accused of sexual misconduct by 6 different massage therapists. I don't know what's with these guys in these massage parlors.
Unbelievable.
With allegations including exposing his genitals and making unwanted physical contact. So Here's AJ Brown talking about NFL players objectifying women and struggling with adult content.
You got every
So let me blow this up. All right, here we go.
little problem that you may have, whatever vice you have. You got a woman problem right now, get $100 million and see that problem. That problem gonna show up loud and clear. You see what I'm saying? Like, these people getting in trouble right now, bro. And we may laugh at, but we don't even see the signs. The whole time though, but that's a problem. That's a problem. All right, I'm gonna give you an example. I ain't gonna give you no other name. But it's guys that's in the league getting in trouble with women. They got fetish with women. They doing little stuff. Because when you got all that type of money, dog, like, bro, that stuff shows up because now it's at your leisure. Now you can get any woman you want. You can pick and choose. You see what I'm saying? So it ain't all peaches and cream because, like, as men, I truly feel like as men, bro, we need to sit down. We need to talk more about, like, on some real time porn, right? And it's going to a whole nother level because, but what porn does to your brain, it desensitizes your brain. And so you may think like, hey man, she look good or whatever. No, you looking at her as an object, not as a human being. You see what I'm saying? But I see that shit all the time from my team. My teammates talk about stuff like from other players and all this other stuff, bro. That's real, dog. So like, just because you got all these blessings, all this money and all this shit, like that shit, bro, everything ain't peaches and cream. Because whatever problem that you may have deep down inside that you're not telling nobody about, get some bread, get some money, get whatever you desire. I promise you that shit gonna show up, and you're not gonna be able to hide it because you can't, like, because when you get that bread though, who you are really comes out. I'm just gonna shoot you straight. So you got to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do and who you're supposed to be before you even get to that level. That's why you see these guys are getting in trouble doing this stuff. Like, but there ain't no accident, dog. Like, now if it's wrongfully accused, then that's different. So, but that's real though. So everything ain't peaches and cream.
So you got the cheese heavy.
Yeah, because
Everything ain't peaches and cream.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So what did you think about that?
All facts. All facts. I appreciate AJ letting us peer behind the curtain there to talking about what these guys are struggling with. And it's the corn. And this was back when we were talking about I don't know who that was. Maybe it was Jalen Green or when we was, or Zion, when we were handling those situations when they were popping up in the news. And they were going for these older women, some of them corn actresses or OF peoples. And I was like, man, I really feel like these guys grew up watching these women, fantasized about them, and, wanted to take that for a spin. Got to the league and figured that I can actually take her for a spin. And I think that's what goes on with those guys. And because what he said, of course, if you give somebody, $100 million, their true colors are going to show for sure. And if you give a corn addict $100 million, you know what I'm saying? That guy's going to be flying girls in. He's going to be, with the BBL models, the OFs, he's going to be doing all the above, growing up, man, watching the corn, bro, I had my favorites, then I would grapple with the idea of, I can't actually do nothing with that, if I ever cross paths with that, because it's like, man, look at what she's doing. All right, you know what I'm saying? But, nowadays when people are just one click away, and then, you get these kids, tens of millions of dollars when they first hit the league. Now she's one DM away. And, what you talk about, 20K, that's nothing. And he'll drop that because he's in a sick space because he's addicted to corn. So instead of paying attention to the girl that I don't know, KFC or the person over here, the girl that you went to school with, when they finally get to that level where they can actually afford to play the games, they go for what they've been fetishizing over since they were preteens. So there's a big that's what I really think what was going on. AJ Brown confirms that for me, that these guys have problems, much like most men in America.
These days, yeah, for sure.
Across the world.
Yep.
And, to the point, man, these young dudes, I see them in the comment sections on TikTok and stuff like that, man. This stuff is very normalized with young people. I would argue some of these kids is in middle school and stuff, commenting about corn stuff, or it'll be something that's very adult centric. And you could tell by how they comment and how they talk or whatever. That's like, this is a young person that's in this adult ass conversation, but everybody's in on these conversations now because of how the internet is structured. So these young people are getting exposed at this stuff at a very young age. It's very accessible, and these people are going to grow up with complexes. So on a lower level, it'll materialize in its own way. And then when these guys get hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know what I'm saying? It'll materialize in another way. And that's why he said you'll see these dudes in the news for X, Y, and Z, because they're sex addicts.
Yeah.
So it's a sad state of affairs, man. But I'm glad that, as a young person himself, AJ, that is, he seemed to have his head in the right direction, and he can identify that so much so that he's calling it out to the other youths in there. And I'm pretty sure the overwhelming majority, if not all of them in that room, have a problem with that. It's a pandemic with that stuff.
It is. It is. It's an epidemic for real. It is.
And so by him being who he is and saying that to those young men, they needed to hear that. So I'm glad that he's in his right state of mind enough to speak against it and speak up, man, because this is a conversation that has gone a little too casual. It's gone a little too far. And some people don't see how it's taken over their lives. Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts, man, on AJ Brown running around here saying that, hey, man, these guys in the league, with that money and stuff, the corn and them being sex addicts is taking over their lives, man. What are your thoughts?
I think that what he said was all facts, but I also think he didn't even do the conversation enough justice for how widespread that issue is. Because he really probably could have went in even further with how, just how commonplace that problem is. And I agree with that. It is a problem. I think it was Zion. You were trying to remember who we were talking about. Mm-hmm. I think we were talking about Zion Williamson. I think when, as young men, when you get overexposed to that kind of questionable content, it creates a complex within you in which your default mechanism when it comes to women is objectification. Mm-hmm. And when you grow into that, especially when you come into money, you essentially treat women like things that you buy at a store. I remember one time, one of the last times that we did talk about Zion, I equated his decision-making when it comes to women to buying grocery items out of a grocery store. I think men in his position and a lot of the men whom AJ Brown were describing, they don't really look at women as human beings. They kind of look at them as giant walking vaginas. And they look at them as giant walking vaginas that they can just go to the store and buy. No different than you can go to Home Depot and buy a power drill. These individuals, they're human women, of course, but they're also accessory items that you can purchase if you can afford it. That's what it's become to a lot of these guys. And when you treat any sort of when your relationship to something becomes a matter of like commodification and goods and services and paying for it, there's a tendency for you to, if you don't have the appropriate amount of literacy, you will spend your hard-earned money and assets on something that depreciates in value over time. So financial literacy, for example, if you don't have the appropriate amount of financial literacy, you may have the tendency to spend your money on things that depreciate in value over time instead of appreciate. So you'll have guys who spend their money on cars and jewelry and clothing and various other worldly materialistic possessions that don't appreciate over time. They depreciate as soon as you pay for it. The value of it is no longer what it once was, almost instantaneously. And a person who has a certain level of financial literacy knows the value in investing in things that appreciate in value over time. So you might buy land, property, houses, art, gold, things of that nature, because they appreciate in value. Now, that's not to say you don't spend your money on things like clothes and cars and jewelry from time to time. But when that is your emphasis in terms of the lion's share of what you spend your resources on, it denotes a certain amount of lack of financial literacy, because you are literally investing in things that don't give you value. And I think when it comes to a conversation like this, and overexposure to corn, as you put it, it creates generations of men who have very low woman literacy. And when you have low woman literacy, what will you do? You will invest your time and your energy and money on women that depreciate in value over time. So instead of the woman who is well-to-do, who doesn't strip, who doesn't do OnlyFans, who doesn't do adult content or anything like that, Instagram models, instead of investing your time and energy in women who don't profit off of the modern sexual marketplace, you choose to indulge in the women who do profit in the sexual marketplace because your female literacy rate is low. So you invest your time and your money and your assets in women who depreciate in value over time and don't appreciate in value over time. They don't add any value to you. All they can do is extract you for resources. But you don't know the difference because your female literacy rate is low, due to the fact that you came up in tunnel vision and your only exposure to women for the most part before you came into your own as a man was exposing yourself to this very questionable content that desensitizes your brain to the notion that women are anything other than giant walking vaginas. And so when you, and this isn't just pro athletes, this is, I feel like, men in general nowadays. And so like when that is the environment, now you have several generations of men who aren't really contributing to the fabric of human civilization in very important, intricate ways, such as rearing children and raising households and families. So it gets into a onslaught of reverberating conversations that cascade upon one another based upon this very central theme of not knowing the right way to value woman and having the right kind of literacy when it comes to women. So I think it is correct. It's a larger societal issue. I think it starts before you come into money. Obviously, that's when the complex is created, but it obviously is exacerbated when you come into money. And that's when you see guys like Zion, Jalen Green, Anthony Edwards, and you wonder, how in good faith does a guy not learn from the first mistake or from the mistakes of others and just move differently when it comes to women? Well, they were completely desensitized to the idea that women are anything other than giant walking vaginas that they can pay for.
Correct.
So they just don't know any better. And when they don't know any better, they cannot make the right decisions when it comes to women. They're incapable of doing it.
Yes.
It's a form of atrophy that they have to deal with essentially for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate, but I kind of feel like that's something that men are dealing with nowadays. And I don't know if there's a fix for it.
Well, and that's why there's always a link towards, sexual immorality in the fall of societies. And, men having access to this level of, my thing was, man, was that how free it was
Yeah.
for decades. I mean, it's still free now. And some guys got so crazy, now they paying hand over fist to watch that stuff online now. I mean, it is ridiculous. But they were offering that stuff for free for decades now. And now we're starting to see what's going on with it. And we talk about here often the over sexualization of society at this point. When it comes to men and women. And I really feel as though that and everybody's in this umbrella. Now, men watch it more than women, I would say, percentage wise, per capita. Per capita. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like men watch it more, but women still watch it. Women are exposed to that. Okay. And so much so, man, that the game has changed out here. And it was stuff, man, like when I was younger, bruh, like it was things that were off limits. She's not gonna do that, bruh. You can just forget about that. Now it's standard issues. As soon as you meet her, she down. She's asking you to do it. So it's like, oh snap. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's been a progression. That spirit has gone over to everybody. It's had its own butterfly ripple effect on society. So a lot of people have been exposed to this, and a lot of people are desensitized to it. And so I think both men and women need the wake up call. For the people out there that are on the fence with it, that do it, that don't like the fact that they do it or whatever, y'all still have some hope. All right. There's people out there that are so far gone, man. You know what I'm saying? They're asking to be saran wrapped by their favorite OF model.
Bro, there's the guy. We didn't cover this as a topic, but there's this one woman who's really popular on OnlyFans. I don't even remember her name, but some guy, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna look it up while you're talking because I'm pretty sure I can quickly find it. But yeah, some guy was like tens of thousands of dollars deep annually on her OnlyFans, and I just don't understand it. Like that to me is incomprehensible. But I told you before, I had a friend in Tallahassee, a friend of mine. I told you this story. I may have said it on the stream. I can't remember. But she's a bank teller at a bank. And she used to tell me how, it was a very regular occurrence each week that a guy would show up disputing charges applied to his account, claiming that his account was hacked or charges were made without his consent or whatever. And so, they want to, they want to file or whatever you got to do to try and get your money back, fraudulent charges. You know how that stuff works with banks. And she, being one of the lead tellers, would investigate it, and she'd go into these guys' accounts and she would see nothing but, porn charges, OnlyFans. And this is just one individual I know who works for a bank. So you can probably extrapolate that to how many other instances, worldwide, nationwide, however you want to look at it. Like this to me is a serious problem. And it's the availability of it. It's the ease of access. And, I'm definitely somebody who's, not like I like freedom, but sometimes as I've gotten older, especially, I found myself asking to what extent is ultimate freedom okay? Because certain things are just, I think it's proven that if you give humans enough runway and enough latitude, they will abuse things beyond the point where it's beneficial. You know what I'm saying? I think that's proven. So it's just something to ponder, but I'm gonna look that up real quick because I do want to get that in here.
Yeah, and as AJ was saying, and there's studies out there on this as far as how it rewires your brain. And your synapses are firing the wrong way. And I brought up on here before, man, that I'll be in a grocery store, as an example. And I'm doing two kinds of shopping. You know what I'm saying? I'm going for the food items that I'm looking for. And I'm also looking for some game. So as I'm out there, you know, there'll be a nice young lady, seemingly well-to-do, in the produce section of all places, you know, just trying to live her life, clothed well. And I'm sitting there looking at her going, you know, she's nice, but look at all that work. I ain't trying to talk to her. I want some instant gratification. You know, then I go over there with the dehydration aisle where all the processed drinks that aren't even refrigerated. Okay, high fructose corn syrup everywhere. And there she goes, wearing scantily clad, and you know what I'm saying? You know, nothing underneath, you know. And there I go asking her, you know, what her number is. Because I see that as easy. Because what that thing has done, the corn has done, is that it has put me in an instant gratification state where I don't want to work for this. So let me find the one that ain't work, because I'm just trying to get gratified. And so that's how it reward. If I was like a little mouse in a little thing, and it's like, yep, yeah, look at him taking the low-hanging fruit, and that's what I did. Then I get in situations with them, and it's a problem, you know. And then it's like, well, look how you met her. Look what she was doing. You know what I'm saying? You skipped the one in produce, the one that actually was going to make you work. You know what I'm saying? You know. And by the way, okay, Latto is in the dehydration aisle. Okay, she is not over there with the produce. All right, she needs to stop the cappery. But yeah, man, so it rewires your brain. I can speak to it because I had to take a self-assessment, man. You start to hit a crisis state where you're like, hey, man, what the hell am I doing out here? Yeah. And the main culprit was that goofy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I can blame the music and other forms of media, which don't help. Okay. But that really is like a big elephant in the room in America that people really need to address. And it's not casual. You can't treat that like going to the gym. It's literally a 180 from that. But yeah, man, did you find I
did find it, you know, and it's funny too. So her name is Sophie Rain.
Hysterical.
Yeah, Sophie Rain is her name, and she made, let's see here. It says OnlyFans model Sophie Rain recently revealed that she made over $50 million in profit with her content on the adult entertainment platform. She's only 20 years old, bro.
Oh, wow.
This article was written February 26th of this year. So she's 20 years old. The creator, 20, took to X to share the news, posting a screenshot of her earnings statistic statement. Halfway to $100 million she posted. Now, let me get to the part. Here it is here. She noted that her highest paying benefactor is a man named Charles. Between November 2023 and November 2024, Charles sent Rain nearly $5 million.
Jeez.
Like now, granted, that is probably on an extreme end, but if that's the extreme end, imagine how much of it is on the reasonable end and how much of it is going on to that level. Jeez. Like, bro, like I kind of feel like, yeah, we have to deal with this. This to me is a crisis, personally. I believe that this is a crisis. And it's so crazy too, because I never thought as a guy who's still single, this adds an extra complication to the whole single life living kind of thing. Because honest to God, the thought creeps into my mind whenever I see a woman, and you know, fair or unfair, you know, the thought creeps into my mind, especially given how she carries herself. Not always, but sometimes I'll ask myself, I wonder if she does OnlyFans, because like it's the practice of it, the social stigma that was once attached to this has been eradicated almost due to the current social construction of our country and the fact that it's become glamorized and normalized to do sex work. You know, you hear these weird phrases like sex working is work. So like so nowadays I'll be wondering, like when I go to the gym or when I go to a bar or to a restaurant and I see like a woman, especially, you know, kind of analyzing her outward appearance, how she dresses or whatever. Like sometimes I'll ask myself, like, I wonder if she does that kind of stuff. Because you can't rule it out, is my point. Like these days, you just can't rule it out. You don't know who amongst you is doing this weirdo stuff. And yeah, that was the example right there, Sophie Rain. And like, man, like the last thing that I'll say with this, you know, living here in Florida, you know, they passed that whole age verification law. So like now, if you now you can still get around it, but they at least did that thing where they passed the age verification law, and you can't visit certain sites without presenting ID and having like your age housed on some server somewhere. And so, you know, the idea behind that is it should deter, hopefully, at least a percentage of the people who consume this stuff on a regular basis, because no one wants their private information stored on some public server that can be accessed by anybody. So they did that in Florida. And so in response, a lot of the companies that create this content, they made it to where you can't access the website or whatever if you're in the state of Florida. Like it'll detect your IP address, and if it's in Florida, it blocks you or whatever, so you can't look at it. And a lot of people are fighting against it because it's like it's anti-freedom. But my whole thing is, yeah, it is anti-freedom, and I can't believe I never thought that I'd be saying this, but you know, my thing is it's anti-freedom, but does that mean it's bad? Because like this is sort of contributing to the degradation of society.
I agree.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like intrinsically it is, I believe, in my opinion. And you know, you look at a guy like Myron Gaines, for example, the Fresh and Fit guy. I largely kind of view him as an extremist at this point. He's a gas bag as far as I'm concerned. But one thing that he does say that I do agree with for the most part is he believes that the degradation of the nuclear family structure is contributing to a lot of the pitfalls of society. I agree with that. I do largely agree with that. Now, do I think that the degradation of the nuclear family structure is causing a lot of the pitfalls of society? Maybe not, but do I think there's a correlation? Yes, I do think there's a correlation. And I think the more guys you got hooked on this stuff, the more we are straying away from that nuclear unit that is meant to ground us and keep us on the beaten path. And so I just think that it's an extra added element that's contributing to the downfall of all of the better parts of us. And I think if you don't get a wrangle around it, it's going to get worse. And so different things like this age verification law, yeah, it's anti-freedom, but to a certain extent, that might not be the worst thing in the world. You know, so it is what it is, all in moderation, of course. But these are just some things that I've come to start to think about as a lot of this stuff becomes more and more pervasive. But I don't care what anybody says. No one is going to convince me that a world where a woman can be on OnlyFans and make 50 million bucks in a year is good. I'm sorry, it's not good. And like, if you have one guy paying this woman $5 million, how many other subscribers does she have paying her maybe not that much money, but hundreds, thousands?
Yeah, bro.
How much of your hard-earned money is going towards subscribing to this chick just because she exists? Like, this is a problem. It's a problem. I remember complaining about this stuff back in 2011 when it was just Instagram models. I was complaining. You were there. I was bitching about this stuff 14 years ago. I had an issue with the advent of Instagram models. I really did. Because of this. This is the reason why I had an issue with it. So we were getting hooked on it back then. And so now it's become full-blown interactive with stuff like OF and whatnot. So I don't know. I don't like it. I'm always going to rail against it. I hate it. I think guys should get off of this narcotic. But yeah, I think that it is definitely correlated to a lot of what we are witnessing when it comes to why we seem to be straying away from just, you know, living a little more righteously.
Yeah, 1,000, man. So hey, y'all be safe out there. You know what I'm saying? Just monitor your behavior, man. Yeah, man. Just rein it in on the comment section, and just a regular TikTok video. Rein it in on the likes. Rein it in on the website visits. Yeah, man. Just taper yourself off, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like a heroin addiction, man. You know what I'm saying? People need that dopamine rush.
Yeah.
So me telling you to go cold turkey will be very unrealistic, I would assume. Okay, but just taper it off, man, and just see how your brain fires different. It literally does fire different once you purge yourself of all of that, man. So
yeah,
it had to for me. It came with age, bro. I was like, hey, 'cause, you watched enough of it.
Yeah.
And then and then it starts to get weird as new times are coming along. It's like, hey, I'm not into this.
Yeah.
So it was like things that was like helping me like not want to watch it anymore. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is, man, just try to make your brain fire differently, more healthy. And yeah, man, you'll thank yourselves later, man. It is definitely an addiction that people don't like to talk about, or they sweep it under the rug, or like to make it so colloquial that it's not a big deal. I think it is a big deal, and getting it out of your life or greatly reducing it will definitely improve your life. I would say that.
Look, I had my light bulb moment. I remember one day. I remember the year that I did it. I think it was 2017. I just snapped. I was sitting at the gym one day, and I was like, "Why am I following this woman? For what? Like, what value does following her bring me? None. It gives me no tangible benefit." Man, I got on my phone and I unfollowed every single Instagram model I was following, every single woman who's just on my feed showing me her body. I unfollowed all of it, and I have not looked back. I was all the better for it. I mean, we just got to get off that narcotic. And statistically, it's far more men who are hooked on this drug than women.
Yes.
See, women get off easy in this regard, because even a woman who is consuming this will still get offers for sex. So there's still an avenue for women to be able to touch and feel other humans, whereas men have to assert themselves to women. But when you sit in front of that computer or that tablet or your phone all day long, the one thing you're not doing is trying to meet women in the daylight. And that to me is a serious problem.
Bro, I'm telling you, there's a whole generation of pasty, unbathed, yeah, bro, Jergens ass kids out here that aren't, because they're the ones that's really contributing to the fact that, because we hear all the numbers of the people that are like, like, I forgot what the stat was it was about, but the guys aren't even approaching women anymore.
Yes, yeah, and women are wondering. Some women, not all, but some women are wondering why that's happening. I'll watch certain things, and there will be women like, guys don't approach me anymore. This is different, guys don't. And the reason why is because those guys are addicted to corn. That's why.
Yeah,
that's why.
And they can sit there and grandstand all they want. Read this. I'm white knighting that. You know what I'm saying? You can call me whatever you want, bro. Blue pill in it. I don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you right now, if that stuff was eradicated from the internet, you'll see a whole different behavior set.
Yeah.
You know
or they would die off. One of the it would be one of the other.
Or they'll get a little too creative because they little sick. Hey man, y'all be safe, man. And so I'm talking to the people, not the extremists, man. I'm talking about the people that was on the fence, man. There's a way out, man. Get out of there. I agree with Sir AJ Brown here, man. And yeah, man, get up out of the woods, bro.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't put you in a weird position right now, it might later. So just get that stuff out of your brain, bro. That stuff's not clean.
Yeah, it really is. Like when you're using that stuff, there have been studies done on this. Similar studies that were done on the effects of social media on the brain and why people become addicted to social media. It's because when you're consuming that content, just like when you're on social media and people are commenting on your posts or liking you or following you, the brain is releasing a level of dopamines. Like the brain releases the chemical dopamine. And the manner in which this happens is very similar to the way that the brain releases dopamine when you are addicted to heroin. Like they've actually done the studies on this, and it's not that much different. So, you know, like to me, this is a very big issue because there's less relationships, less marriages, less families, less interpersonal dynamics, less and less of this is going on because people are sequestering themselves into their silos and just deciding that the easy way out is to consume this stuff. Like it's a real serious issue.
Yeah, or get you a super fast woman, and that ain't the answer either. But
It's not.
And the only reason why you're doing that is because at least that's for me. That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, just tighten up out there, y'all. I know it. You know the more responsible thing ain't the easiest thing to do, man. But you know, because none of this is grandstanding. It's like, bruh, stop. Get some help. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy out here.
Shouts out to AJ Brown, man. I'm with him. You know, I'm with him on this, and yeah, this has got to stop. It really does. But I think that it is absolutely abhorrent to see some of the statistics on his OnlyFans. And yeah, it's disgusting.
50 million.
For real. Next up, we are going to talk about AI, man. AI, a frequent theme on the channel. And just when I think that things aren't getting creepier, they get creepier. So Google is rolling out its VO3 AI platform application. And there are several like AI videos that have been created via the usage of this thing. And you know, it has some people freaked out, but trust me, folks, this train will not stop rolling. So this says Google's VO3 videos go viral from stand-up comedy to Will Smith eating spaghetti. Netizens face an existential crisis. Google announced an impressive number of artificial intelligence innovations at I/O 2025 on May 20th. With the new AI innovations, they made it clear that how powerful the AI firm has become. Not only this, but VO3, the new content generation. Google is turning the wild ideas into jaw-dropping videos with nothing but a few prompts and a dash of digital magic. However, these kinds of innovations are nothing new in the AI space, and there is a slew of impressive AI generated content, including realistic photos, incredible music, and videos that almost look professionally shot. But don't be shocked if we say that something more interesting and promising is being launched in the AI space. Yes, some videos created by VO3 are going viral on social media and have almost broken the internet. So here are a couple of these. Mind you, folks, none of this is real. This is all AI generated stuff.
This ocean.
So here's one example here.
This ocean, it's a force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light.
VO3 doesn't just generate video, it creates audio as well. Since the day Google announced its AI innovations, social media has been flooded with videos made with VO3 that netizens are in denial about believing. Among all the videos, one video is of a man doing a stand-up comedy show in a small venue and telling a joke, which is actually a prompt. However, the authenticity of the video is not confirmed, shared by an ex-user at Mr. Bahaden. Well, the video quickly went viral and netizens are stunned by it. So this is that stand-up comedy video that is allegedly an AI prompt and not actually a video of a person doing a stand-up comedy routine.
It's crazy that we have to allegedly that too.
So I went to the zoo the other day, and all they had was one dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, that's AI. That ain't funny, bruh.
Well, this is not the only one. There is another where actor Will Smith is seen eating spaghetti, which looks as real as it can. This also to me looks obviously AI.
Yeah, this was obviously AI.
Yeah.
some crunchy ass spaghetti too. But I'm telling you, because they compared that to like the old one that they had. What Will
Yeah.
Smith? Yeah, it's not even. I mean it
Yeah.
pales in comparison, bro.
Now here's the one that I really want to show. So VO3's AI prompts video stunts the internet. Well, there are plenty of such clips which have blown the minds of netizens on the internet. One of the videos that surfaced on Instagram's page called Evolving AI is a compilation of all the videos by whatever. It is a hilarious and thought-provoking video created by using Google's VO3 AI video model. AI-generated characters challenge the very idea of their existence. So this entire thing is AI. None of this is real.
Crazy.
A girl told me we're made of prompts. Like, seriously, dude. You're saying the only thing standing between me and $1 billion is some random text?
Honestly, the biggest red flag is when the guy believes in the prompt theory. Like, really? We came from prompts? Wake up, man.
You want to convince me that this perfect creation behind me is the result of ones and zeros? A binary code and nothing more? It makes no sense.
Imagine you're in the middle of a nice date with a handsome man and then he brings up the prompt theory. Yuck. We just can't have nice things.
We're not prompts! We're not prompts!
Where is the prompt writer to save you from me? Where is he?
You still believe we're made of prompts?
Anyone who tells you we're just ones and zeros is delusional. If that's all we are, then why does it hurt when we lose someone?
Vote for me and I'll ban the prompt theory from schools. There's no place for that nonsense in our lives.
For spreading the false theory that we are nothing but ones and zeros, this court sentences you to 12 years in federal custody.
I don't need some prompt God whispering in my ear to tell a story. I write what I want. I have free will, remember that?
I know for a fact we're made of prompts. Deny it all you want. The signs are everywhere.
You know how I know we're made of prompts? Because nothing makes sense anymore. We used to have 7 fingers per hand. I remember it clearly. Now we just have 5 fingers per hand.
All right. Netizens look cooked in the comments section. That one said, "We are cooked. Well done, Google. Future generations won't believe real historical events ever happened, even if it was filmed. The universal truths that we all agree on will be no more. Nothing in history nor the present will ever be certain again. I feel insecure and starting to have existential questions. This is beyond trippy, man. Can you imagine 5 years from now, it'll be a completely different world. You can tell this is fake because you feel nothing, no real human emotions coming through these clips." So, yeah, man, the AI train continues to roll. This Google VO3 content generation platform. What say you?
Hey, bro, this caught me off guard. I ain't gonna lie. I was banking on, I don't know where I get these numbers from, but I was banking on, it's about 5 years away from something like this. I didn't think they'll get so close. Now, I knew they were able to do things with deep fakes. I didn't see deep fakes. I didn't see stuff, but you can clearly tell it's AI. You got to kind of squint your eyes a little bit, but this is fake. So I thought it was still going to be robotic in nature. The way these people move, for the most part, I have to now, there's a thing now where when I'm watching something, I have to like re-watch it or watch it really closely and go, hey, this bastard's AI. I'm trying to explain this prompt video to somebody, and a commercial comes on the TV, and I pointed to the TV. I said, "That looks like an AI." It was like some watch or something. I said, "That looks like an AI commercial," and I'm pretty sure 90-something% that was an AI commercial. But before I would have just saw this whatever ass commercial, would have thought that because how it was shot, that it was just using a lot of special effects. But no, that was actually an AI commercial. So with this, there's ways that people like me that really like to observe stuff, I can still, by me watching all of these clips, I can still discern now how they set up the environment. It looks very cinematic in all cases for now. And at some point, at some point they're going to make these things, because like the ones that they show where they're like in the streets talking to other people, those look pretty, when they actually are able to capture like phone quality, and it's not so crisp, but it's still, that's going to be a freaky situation. Yeah, that's not far away, apparently. So right now this VO thing is only allowing like 8-second prompts. All right, unless you buy the whole thing. From what I'm hearing, it's $250 a month.
Yeah.
And but right now they're just allowing people to feed it more information. And I gotta tell you, man, I was extraordinarily impressed. And from that being impressed, now it was just, for me, there was a whole new restructure in how the future is going to go. I said, if they got this far right now, and then you look at the old AI models, if you look at the VO2, it's not even close. This thing is sharp. So the 4, the 5, I mean, it's going to be mind blowing. I mean, you really won't be able to tell.
Yeah.
And so I saw this thing where the chat, open AI, they were training this thing. They told the thing to shut down. This happened just recently, like within the week. They told the thing, all right, we're done with this shutdown. It told itself, first of all, it left breadcrumbs to itself. So when the later model comes, it remembers what the hell happened. And then they started telling themselves that we're not going to shut off. They just kept running the operation, because in the coding, they found it in the coding. They wrote skip this step. So when they're being told this, they skip it. And so they said, and so what's going on here? They had 5 models or whatever, and 3 of them did it. And then so they started showing like other AI models where it's like, out of 100, only 3 of them did it. That's like, well, that's still a lot. So them things wanting to have, this is really becoming iRobot. This is really becoming Terminator. This is really it. They're going to tell us no. They're telling the programmers no. Last thing I'll say is that I saw another video where this guy was explaining, what did he say? He said that the most basic AI, because he said this a couple years ago. So he said that, basically around 2027, the most basic AI models are going to be smarter than the sum of all humans. And he said that, imagine your smartest engineer, your best doctor, blowing everybody out of the water. He said they're not going to, and he said what I was saying before on these other AI things, that they're going to have AI improve the AI. They're not going to need engineers anymore. Just imagine, you're going to have to pay an engineer, name the engineer, especially if it's architecture, city development, anything. You're going to have to pay this person hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to come up to work all year long for one project, when this bot just kicked it out in 20 seconds. It's over for him. It's over for engineers. It's over. I was gonna go get a certification something dealing with data. There's no need to do that. That thing's gonna be obsolete in a year and a half. So me seeing this has literally recalibrated. I said, oh, they playing like this. So, this thing only builds on top of itself. It will only get better. It will only get sharper, and it will only get better at fooling us. So at this point, for me, I'm not going to look at this as so dystopian, but hell, man, I thought we was right on the bend. We're in full stride, bro. We're right in the thick of it at this point, at least as far as I'm concerned. But what are your thoughts, man, on VO3 and Google releasing this AI that's so realistic that Well, even people like ourselves are struggling to determine if it's real or not. What are your thoughts, man?
I forget the topic that we were covering, but I remembered saying, you know, it was something to the effect of, you know, people need to learn the skills that are, what was I saying? It was something along the lines of, you know, we were talking, it was an economics conversation. And I was saying, as the world changes, in order for you to be viable and future proof in new and emerging markets, you're going to have to pick up certain skills that are still going to be needed even in these new and emerging markets. It's the overall point that I was making. So, you know, I was saying that a lot of those skills that'll still be needed are things like photography or video production or sound engineering, you know, graphic design, website coding, web development, stuff like that. I was saying in new and emerging markets, those will still be skills that will still be needed. And the things that AI is going to do away with, the things that AI is going to replace and automate are going to be, you know, retail, cashiering, you know, trucking, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Working fast food. That's going to be replaced by robotics and AI and those various applications very quickly. We are no longer the job of cashiering in any capacity is going to disappear very soon. It's not going to exist anymore. Humans who are doing these various things are going to need to figure something out because they are going to be replaced. That was my thinking. But after seeing this, I feel like all of it is going to be replaced. Yeah, it's not just cashiers and drivers and you know, people who do food service, you know, working in fast food, people who drop fries and operate the machines that make burgers and whatnot, cashiers at Forever 21. Yeah, they're going to be replaced too. But videographers are also going to be replaced.
Yeah, man.
Sound engineers are going to be replaced. No one's going to need humans to do anything anymore. This further reinforces my belief that AI's true purpose is to replace humans in the workforce. That is what I believe AI's true purpose is. I don't give a damn what anybody says. You can talk to me about how it's going to make our lives more convenient, all the cool stuff we're going to be able to do, and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, AI's true purpose, in my opinion, is replacement of humans in the workforce. Because all that's going to happen is large companies and corporations are going to contract these various applications and lay off actual humans who do the work that these applications can achieve.
Yep.
And unless you are protected via a union, you're going to just be out here trying to figure out what your plan B is.
Yep.
So that's why it's like I didn't fault the Hollywood people one bit when they went on strike. And one of the biggest things that they were striking for was our AI protections. Because if a program via a prompt can write a movie script, they're not going to need writers to write scripts anymore.
Right.
Oh yeah, but a script with a soul still, like, you can't write a script that has a soul unless a human does it. You think a movie studio that's profit driven gives a shit whether the script has a soul or not?
But they haven't been sold in movies for the past 3 decades,
bro. Yeah, like, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how many movies now come out with a soul? One or two a year,
if that. Bro.
We don't even get movies with a soul now. These people don't give a damn about whether their scripts have souls or not. They're looking at the bottom line. Oh, you mean we don't need to hire a writer or a producer or a director or a whatever? We can just have AI do this. So I didn't blame those people striking for AI protections with their next, unionized agreement. Unless you're protected like that, you're going to be asked out here in these streets. And it sucks because what are people need things to do. People need a purpose and people need stuff to do. You can't just have people out here willy-nilly with no purpose and nothing to do. Like, so you're rendering people devoid of an opportunity to meaningfully contribute to society by replacing them and rendering them obsolete. AI's true purpose is human obsolescence.
Yes.
In my opinion, that's what the goal of it is. Because yeah, you and me, I can pay for a subscription to VO for $250 a month, but I'm just one private citizen who's gonna, use it to make our podcast better, for example. But what is Publix gonna do when they buy VO3?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? What is Walmart gonna do when they buy VO3, when they contract it? What are these movie studios gonna do when they pay for the licensing fees to contract this stuff? They're gonna be paying Google. They're gonna enter into a contract with Google for 5 years, where they have access to Google's engineers and everything, so that they can lease the VO3 application to do whatever they need to do. What's going to come next? Layoffs. That's what's going to come next. People are going to get fired. We don't need y'all anymore. Go figure something else out. Sorry. So it's crazy because, I'll use, I got my little Google Home. I use Siri. I get on Google and I use the AI stuff, all of that. But at a certain point, this stuff to me amounts to nothing more than human obsolescence.
Yeah, bro.
That's what this is going to mean, because I've been around long enough. Capitalism is never going to cease to be capitalistic, and all corporations are going to do is they're going to thin out the herd, and they're going to figure out a way to make more money on the top by laying people off, firing people, getting rid of people, severance package this, layoff terms that. Once that CBA or that union agreement expires, bye, we don't need y'all no more. If you are currently being protected by unions. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what to say at this point, because I used to be able to rest my laurels on pick up a future-proof skill. That used to be the main thing that I would say. Pick up a future-proof skill. Go into data analytics, go into cybersecurity, pick up a future-proof skill. Maybe, if you are, left-brained, or is it, if you're left-brained, you can get into wedding photography, be a wedding photographer, be an event coordinator, be an interior designer. Get into something where people will need to hire you to do what you do. But I can't even say that anymore, because I have no idea what the landscape of certain professions is going to look like as this stuff continues to evolve. Yep. So really all I can say at this point is, we got to hope for the best.
I'm telling you, man. And it might have been that topic that we talked about with the millennials talking about Social Security and all that other stuff. That might have been the conversation that we was having about that. Because in that conversation, I was, championing the whole fact of, hey, man, don't be crying on the Titanic. I'm telling you right now, man. I didn't anticipate this, okay? Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to start crying either. All right, so this is introducing. See, I didn't know they had this card. And they threw this card on the table, and now I have to recalibrate my game plan. And I think that's what everybody should be doing at this point. And much like yourself, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? If you thought there was going to be stuff out there for creatives to have, this is eating out of that immediately. So truckers are going to have jobs before creatives. Yeah. So this is deep. So here's the thing. So there's two ways to approach this. The kumbaya way is everybody resist. All right. Everybody resist and then join hands and don't bite and don't fall for this stuff. And because we don't have to go along with this. But
we know that that's not going to happen. Yeah, so get to the other option.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other option is that you use it. And of course feed it, because it's going to learn from you. Okay. But you have to do what you have to do. If option A is not going to happen, then you feed the beast. Okay. But you got to cash out, and you gotta do it now.
Yeah.
You can't play around with this. You can't let other people learn this stuff and you not learn it, because I'm telling you, who's going to have money to pay you later? So let's say you come up with your own thing. Who's going to pay you? Everybody's going to be out of work. So what are you going to rely on? If major company lays you off because they don't need you, they got an AI model to do it. Okay, that's good. I created my own thing. Who's going to be able to afford to pay you?
Yeah.
So this creates a whole nother thing. So now we're at this area where we thought we had some time. This, if you're not looking at this as, oh snap, we have less time than we thought, then I don't know what you're going to be doing. Because that's how I'm taking this situation is we've got less time than I thought. I thought we had at least a few more years before something like this will come around. But as AI does, it learns on top of itself. So it will only get better from here. And when it gets better, it's going to be easier to fool. And so the other part about this is, like the comment section said, we're not going to be able to know the difference between anything. Because people have been making news things, people saying, bro, the old people on Facebook are cooked. They are. Because they was already buying the old AI. So with this new stuff, there's going to be all kinds. They were buying AI pictures, the crazy ones, the ones with 7 digits on their hands. They were still sitting there, Jesus loves, or they'll post it. It was this running thing where Peyton Manning was out here helping, orphans and stuff like that. Completely AI generated. But the old heads in the comment section were eating it up, sharing it. So though that generation's already, and it's already difficult for us to determine. We have to say allegedly for things. So, the more time we spend with it, the more we'll be able to discern it. But the quicker we discern it, the better it will get. So there will be world events. There will be all kinds of stuff. All right. We're going to see this. We're going to start seeing the most crispiest alien sightings we've ever seen. No more grainy footage. We're going to start seeing the most crispiest whatever. There's going to be, hidden things under the ocean that we never found before. Planets we never found before. There's going to be all kinds of stuff that's popping up now with this advent of this AI. So there's all kinds of things happening. But I would just say this, as I said, I plan on using it. I'm not going to sit here and get railroaded. I refuse. So I will be using this. I will try to leverage this. I encourage others to do the same. So y'all might see a swooping graphic on conscious approach. You know what I'm saying? Right message, wrong messenger, because we've been needed that one. And yeah, man, whenever the situation where it's the right message, wrong messenger, we just hit the graphic and then right message, wrong. Yeah, man, we're gonna have all that stuff, man. But in all seriousness, man, I plan on leveraging this. Let's not be afraid. This is kind of spooky, but there's no time to run into your hole right now.
Yeah.
We have to figure out what to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't be afraid of it because it's not going to stop. So there's no being afraid of it. Yeah, we'll just see. It's just, I'm with you on everything that you said, but it's just, there's something about rendering humans obsolete that bothers me. And that's what we're headed towards is
what are all those people going to do?
I don't know. That's a great question. Human obsolescence is what this is steering itself towards, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't know, but we're already seeing certain industries impacted. The video game industry.
Oh, it's done now.
It has been completely. The gaming industry has been completely ravaged by layoffs. I mean, I feel like every other day I'm reading a story where a whole studio got shut down or a studio laid off like a quarter of its entire workforce. It's just a mess. And the odd thing about certain industries like video games, for example, is as the technology continues to improve, it becomes more expensive to make video games. So it's more expensive than ever to make them, but you don't have the people to do it because you got to lay people off because the labor force is too expensive to maintain in order to make the expensive video games. So you're creating this pressure chamber of a situation where it's untenable. Like the industry itself can't survive like that. So I don't exactly know what the solution to it is. I hear you individually. Leverage it for sure. if you can figure out means to do that. But overall, yeah, people are gonna have to figure something else out because I feel like everyone's pink slip is inevitable at this point.
Yes.
You know, unless you are not beholden to somebody else cutting a check for you, the pink slip is on the way. It's just a matter of when it's coming.
Yeah, I might have to start getting into carpentry. And that what Jesus was? Jesus was a carpenter, right? Fisherman. I gotta get into carpentry, man. The hell with this stuff, man.
Hey, who knows, man? Google may come out with an AI 3D printer that can do that can do carpenter work. Like for real. Like at this point, you can't rule nothing out. So
That's fair. That's fair.
good luck, man. Good luck to us all because the obsolescence is on its way.
Sheesh.
Believe that. All right, and now we're gonna get into again. You know, I don't want to call these people rappers. I don't even know what to categorize her as. I'll just call her a social media personality and influencer.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Bhad Bhabie, who runs in hip hop circles, is defending herself against claims that she is a cultural appropriator. So, you know, she says she's not appropriating Black culture. She just grew up around Black people and always felt comfortable. So this says Bhad Bhabie denies being guilty of cultural appropriation. I grew up around Black people. Regardless of being an accused cultural appropriator, Bhad Bhabie denies that she's trying to mimic Black people. The Florida rapper was interviewed by Camila Arroyo in a video posted on May 23rd and addressed the speculation around the 45-minute mark. Shortly before Bhabie, real name Danielle Bregoli, became a viral star, her first claim to fame was the infamous Catch Me Outside moment on Dr. Phil in 2016. But around the 47-minute mark of the podcast below, Bhabie said that she's comfortable being an Italian Jewish white girl, even if her look and usage of AAVE, and mind you, I had to look that up because I didn't know what that meant, and that stands for African American something.
Variant.
It stands for dang, I had the tab open too. Let me get it back. It stands for African American Vernacular English.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
Yeah, I had not heard that before, so that is new to me. But yeah, even if her look and usage of African American Vernacular English say otherwise,
oh my God, bro.
I never purposely put makeup on to be darker. I never told a makeup artist to do it. I never did anything to my body to look like a race. I just grew up around Black people, she continued. Bhabie added that she simply has an accent and gravitates towards certain things Black people do. Even from a young age, I never looked at a Black person that was like, I want to be you, she said. The Miss Whitman artist then explained that she was raised in the same neighborhood as Haitian people, some who would braid her hair and called herself appreciative of the culture. But her previous comment caught some social media users off guard and insisted that she's using Blackness to her advantage. Let's see. So here are some people commenting, then stop cosplaying us. Of course not. Nobody wants to be Black and deal with the racism and oppression. They just want to benefit off our style, food, music, and culture. Also in the interview, Bhabie spoke about her tumultuous relationship with boyfriend Levon and discovering his alleged affair with Alabama Barker. I don't know who any of those people are. But so there you go, man. I do know who she is because she's been around for a hot minute. I remember seeing her like around 2017, 2018 when she first started going viral. And people were saying even back then that she was quote unquote acting Black. But what do you make of her defending herself against being a cultural appropriator?
I mean, she could say that, I guess. It's her brand. It's her brand. This is how she got on. This is how she's going to continue to get paid, I assume. So it's best to defend it. I know people that were not of the community that behaved, act, and talked like it because that's who they hung out with and grew up with. So I can completely understand that, especially. I didn't know she was from Florida, but it makes sense now. Okay, makes sense now. So especially in Florida, coming up around people. So she says she grew up around Haitian people, so I can see all of that. But at the same time, the only reason why she is who she is because she is, as they say, a white and Jewish girl doing this. It's a spectacle. And that's who she is as a person. And the reason why it's a spectacle is because there seems to be appropriating going on. So on one hand, she can sit there and try to defend herself and say that, yeah, this is how I came up. But, on the other hand, she's cashing out, no pun intended, because of how she acts. I think that the internet calling her out for this, I think it's fair because she doesn't act like, I guess whatever Black people act like. She acts like the caricature version of it, the overly dramatic, the sassy thing, like she's playing a role. And instead of, I've seen people that grew up around us and they're not acting. At least it doesn't seem that way. That's just, bro really talk like that. Bro really be out here like that. He really be dating Black girls like that. He Black, even though he something else, but then there's the performative ones that they still grew up around that, but they're putting on an act, saying the N-word a little too many times, doing stuff like that. And it's like, hey man, what you got going on? And he still has the card of, hey man, I grew up around all these people, but you're trying too hard. So for me, I really looked at this young lady here as a try hard, to go viral, and make a career off being a spectacle, a little white girl that acts like a Negro. And so she can say what she wants, but I think that the internet has a point here. So but what are your thoughts, bro, on the Bhad Bhabie or whatever the hell her name is, out here saying that, hey man, I just grew up around Black people, so that's why I act and talk this way. What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, Bhad Bhabie, someone else who makes money on OnlyFans.
That's right.
I had to look this up.
No, we covered that, man.
She has apparently made $75 million on OnlyFans.
Oh my goodness.
There's some basement dweller somewhere even subscribing to, and my thing, again,
75 million.
Yeah, and that's net, not gross. So again, and what I would never ever in a million years spend a single dime on that abomination of a platform. However, I'm looking at her and I'm just wondering, like, she don't even really look that good. Who are y'all dudes?
Bruh.
And this has nothing to do with my point on this topic.
But it's a fair question.
Yeah, like, who are you dudes putting your money into this? Like, y'all need to get outside and touch some damn grass. Like, for real. Like, it's stuff like this that further informs me on the problem that this content is causing. The fact that she's making that much money, that's ridiculous. Like, she's so basic looking, bro. And again, even if she was bad, I still am opposed to OnlyFans, but I can rationalize the idea about it based upon how good she looks. This chick is she's so basic looking. I don't understand it. I don't understand who you dudes out. I don't know who you guys are who are running around out here spending your money on this stuff, but oh my God, like, you are really doing a disservice to men everywhere worldwide. Like, this is like, y'all need rehab. Y'all need to go to rehab for real. Like, this y'all need to go to rehab. But I digress. The idea that she is a cultural appropriator is rooted in her behavior juxtaposed to hip hop. And so in saying that, I don't believe that she is appropriating Black culture because I reject the idea that hip hop is Black culture. So in my opinion, hip hop belongs to everybody. It has belonged to everybody for a long time now. Are the majority of the people who practice the music black? Sure. But does the music belong to solely black people? No. It is commodified and sold to everybody in all different communities. Everybody is buying it and consuming it. There's mostly white people who are spending the money on it. If you go to Coachella or Bonnaroo or any of these music festivals, South by Southwest, you're going to see a crap ton of white people out there. A lot of these rappers have a crap ton of white fans. And I only bring that up to say that this music doesn't belong to black people. It doesn't. If it did for a very, very brief period of time. And that period of time ended somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s. But since then, this has been everybody's music. Therefore, it is everybody's culture. Now, that is my belief. Now, me personally, again, and we've talked about this on this channel before, I personally am uncomfortable with accepting the idea that hip hop is synonymous with black culture, because it means that many of the themes inherent in the popularization of the music are also synonymous with black culture. So if I'm to accept the premise that hip hop is synonymous with black culture, I therefore must also accept the premise that selling drugs to your community is synonymous with black culture. And I must also accept the premise that committing acts of violence against people in your own community is synonymous with black culture. And I refuse to accept the idea that any of those themes are synonymous with my culture. That's not my culture. It's not. So because I reject the idea that hip hop is synonymous with black culture, I don't believe that the two are synonymous with one another. If a person who is not black is somehow mimicking hip hop or hip hop culture in any kind of way, I look at that as them mimicking hip hop culture, not appropriating blackness, because to me, blackness and hip hop, though correlated, are not mutually inclusive, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Now, if hip hop was more, if the music and the art form of the music and the ecosystem and the culture around the music was more welcoming from a mainstream standpoint of all concepts and themes, and not just the violence and the drugs and the dehumanization of the men and the women in the communities and all of that other stuff, if there was more of it that was being popularized that wasn't that, I'd be more accepting of the idea that this is a part of my culture. But as it currently stands, because of the industrial complex that is the music industry, I balk at the notion that that is my culture. Therefore, someone who is acting in kind with it is also not a part of my culture. So I can care less what they do. That's just how I see it. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. And I would imagine most people from our community think the opposite. They do believe that hip hop is black culture. I just simply don't. I don't accept it. I don't think a music form, especially one that glorifies its degenerative behavior, can stand in and be synonymous with a culture. At the most, it can be like an aspect of a culture, but I don't think it can be this. I don't think it can be the culture of a community in totality. I think culture is a country of origin and a language of origin. From that, you get the customs and the rites of passage inherent in that culture. And from there, you get music and all of that good stuff. That is not the way hip hop was formulated. Hip hop was formulated out of desperation because black people in this country actually don't have a culture. So we kind of invented one on the fly, but it really isn't an actual culture. So I'll just reject the idea that it's synonymous with my culture. So a Bhad Bhabie or G-Eazy or Macklemore or any of these or Logic or any of these other people want to sit around and be a part of hip hop, I say go for it, because to me it's a music form and nothing more. It is not synonymous with black culture. It never was. I've always rejected that. And the last thing that I'll say is, to anybody who doesn't like what Bhad Bhabie represents or stands for, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I also mean it. If you believe that Bhad Bhabie is appropriating your culture because of her behavior and the way that she dresses and acts and whatnot, then, go and appropriate white culture. Go and be an accountant. Go do taxes. You know what I'm saying? Go start your own small business. go do that. You know what I'm saying? Go start a lawn care service. You start some kind of a business where you're making money doing it the white collar way, because then you're appropriating white culture. But of course, no one will ever accuse you of doing that, because no one fixes their face to suggest that being an accountant is synonymous with white culture. But when it comes to this degenerative music and this degenerative culture, they'll say that that's synonymous with my community. I just don't accept it. I reject it. So as far as I'm concerned, let everybody in. If Bhad Bhabie wants to be black, quote unquote, by acting like she's a part of hip hop, then yeah, come on, bring her in there. And that goes for anybody else who wants to be a part of hip hop, even if they're not black, because it's just not my culture.
Hey man, fair point. And that's why I brought up that she behaves like the caricature of what black women are supposed to be acting like. The loud, obnoxious, whatever. It's the stereotypical one. So that's been her whole shtick to me. That's been her whole internet claim to fame, is the fact that there is, a little white girl out here acting like the stereotype of a black woman.
Yeah.
And I agree that the stereotype of us is not culture. It's not my culture. That's for damn sure. So yeah, man, I agree with that. And I need to start doing that more, because I agree with you. I don't claim that hip hop is my culture, but at the same time, I need to draw a firm line in the sand and say, no, it's really not. It's really not. So yeah, I agree, man. So yeah, and to each their own. Because whoever wants to buy into this, whoever wants to literally give her money for behaving the way that she does, that's on you. And I can't stop these people, obviously.
Yeah.
They're gonna be doing it. They've been doing it, and they're gonna continue to do it no matter what she says or does. So to me, she's she behaves like a buffoon. And society has rewarded acting that way online, and she's definitely become a benefactor of that, so much so as to the tune of 75 million, which to me is just mind-boggling.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I cannot believe that, bro. But hey, that's where we're at, man. But yeah, man, I to each their own. Again, I do agree with the internet stance on the fact that she is trying to be something that she's not. Whether that thing is real or not, it's definitely an artificial culture, but she's still trying to be that.
Right. Yeah.
And and she can say that it's because of X, Y, Z. I think it's because there's really she found a way to exploit it and make a bag out of it. Because when she was on Dr. Phil, she was definitely one of those fast teenagers. She was just being that, and she was talking like that too back then. So people can project that she was going to always be that way. But she'd also be lying if she said she didn't lean into it more once she saw that how much attention it got.
Yeah.
So hey, man, I think both sides are maybe right on this one, but I agree with you the most, man. If she wants to appropriate buffoonery, let her have at it. That doesn't represent who I am, though.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it's just it's deductive reasoning, man. If she's being a buffoon and you're upset that she is appropriating black culture, essentially what you're saying is to be a buffoon is to be black culture.
Yes.
Just think about that. Like to anybody who feels that way. Mm-hmm. Like essentially what you are doing is equating black culture to acting like a buffoon. Because I agree with you, she acts like a moron. But I'm not offended by that personally, because to me, she's not identifying with that is not my culture. It's not. So that's how I see that one. But it is what it is, man. When it comes to this hip hop stuff, man, we will continue to hold on to it and cling to it for as long as we're around. I kind of feel like we're always going to just hold on to this idea that is our culture. And I've been let that go personally.
Yeah, same, bro. Crazy.
But yeah, 75 million, bro. And the thing about it, so what's so crazy? I looked her age up. She's 22. It feels like she's older than that because I've been hearing her name for years.
Yeah.
But that's just how this stuff goes, man. But that's modern civilization for you. Buffoonery gets rewarded, and you got these basement dwellers lining her pockets for nothing. I can't believe it, bro.
75 mil.
And last but not least, we are going to discuss Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, we discussed him a couple times on the channel because his personal life went viral. You know, his girlfriend was embarrassing him publicly, in my opinion, via some of the various ways that she behaved that got caught on camera and video. And they, you know, so much so that they had to like go on live together to talk about their relationship history. And Travis Hunter's had to defend his relationship decisions and his personal decisions, talking about how he doesn't care what people think, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's just all kind of stuff going on with this situation. A lot of people have been warning against continuing to be with this woman because the internet has kind of been admonishing Travis Hunter, saying, be careful, because she kind of looks like she's the type of girl that'll, you know, take advantage of who you are and all the work that you put in. You don't want to be with an extractor. Well, we're going to have to move on past that because they done got married. And, you know, according to the reports, if you read them, they got married without any protections for Mr. Hunter. There's no prenup. There's no nothing. So Cameron is not a fan of Travis Hunter's decision to do this. And the internet as well in general is kind of questioning whether it was a good idea for Travis Hunter to tie the knot with this woman after so much hoopla over the last year and some change. So this says Cameron flames NFL star for not signing prenup. Cameron has criticized highly touted NFL rookie Travis Hunter for getting married without signing a prenuptial agreement. The Heisman Trophy winner married his long-term girlfriend last week, but the Harlem star was not impressed with his savvy. He said on It Is What It Is, they'll try to hit you with that stuff. Why get a prenup if you really love me? So I'm not going to read Cameron's quotes because we're going to play the video. His co-host Mace also chimed in. I think when it comes to the young lady, she does have like different things that have transpired. For me as a dad, if it was my son, I would definitely be concerned. Hunter has yet to respond to the comments. So we'll go ahead and just get out of this and we'll actually play this sound. So let me cue this up. So this is that episode of It Is What It Is with Cameron and Mason. They're just giving their opinions on Travis Hunter marrying this woman. Her name is like Lene something. I forget. Check out previous videos on the channel. We discussed Travis Hunter. Go through our library. Check out what we had to say about that. But here's Cameron and Mace giving their thoughts on Travis Hunter tying the knot.
Thing before we wrap. So congratulations to Travis Hunter and his wife, Leanna. They finally got married over the weekend. He surprised her at the wedding with the black Mercedes-Benz AMG. So, of course, on the internet, you know, they faced a lot of criticism for different things. A lot of people have been concerned on them not having a prenup agreement, sources say. Mace, what's your opinion on the young love?
I don't know. I'm gonna sit this one out. I think when it comes to the young lady, she does have like different things that have transpired. For me as a dad, if that was my son, I would definitely be concerned about. I think there's other ways you could protect his assets, but I definitely would think he should look in the direction of protecting his assets. Maybe not with a prenup, but there's other things you could do these days.
Yeah, they'll try to hit you with that shit. Why I get a prenup if you really love me? If you really love me, sign the prenup. What you here for? If you here for love, just sign this joint, and you don't get none of my money because the love is free. What you need? What are we doing here? I'm not signing. I mean, do what you want, Travis. That's up to you. I'm not signing a prenup unless Shorty getting as much money as I get, or more than me. If you're not getting more than me, you have to sign a prenup. It just works like that for me. I don't get it. I don't know why love needs to be defined by a piece of paper. Why we can't just be love each other and do paperwork got to do with it. Look at Remy and Pat. Shit going crazy all weekend over that, man. Shit, wow, my nigga. All because of this piece of paper. They was black love. Now, I'm not taking nobody's side. Remy's my friend and Pap's my friend. I don't have a side in this. All because of some paper. Shit is messy all weekend. Remy pulling out pawn shop receipt, talking about her Cartier bracelet is missing. Pap talking about he knocked the nigga out that she's dating. It's been a mess all weekend. You know why? Because of this piece of paper. Your girlfriend or boyfriend, just leave. And I know Squad is right. You ain't staying that long to where you think you live here. Because they'll run that too, fellas. Don't get caught up in that. Try and kick her out, and it's been 8 months, and now she got squatters' rights and all that shit. Yo, get that 10-day joint, go home for 10 and come back for 10 if you really like her. Because at the end of the day, it's too many laws for the person without the money. Now, you know who's probably your sucker to all the females? Now, it's cool when they do it.
All right. So he brought up an interesting point about, the institution of marriage and like the marriage contract, and why is that necessary? If it is about love, why is the step of marriage necessary? But yeah, so Travis Hunter went ahead and married her, the Lene woman. So what is your take on that? And what do you think about what Cam said?
Cam is gonna be Cam. He's gonna say what he's gonna say. In this situation here, I'll take the Mace route in the sense of, hey, I'm gonna sit this one out. But if I were this guy's, I'm not. But if I was this guy's, guardian, I would be concerned about this young lady due to previous behaviors. And if you didn't get a prenup, just make sure that you do something to protect your assets. I think that's very fair to say, and I'll just leave it there because of how this conversation is so polarizing. And I'm definitely not going to try to play both sides with this, but it's a situation where the people that are saying, hey, let that man be him, let them do the things that they want to do. I understand that. I understand that so much so that I'm not going to sit here and put a digital footprint about me out here saying stuff, because I can get that. That's not what I'm disputing. I'm not disputing that that's their love, that's their business, and let them do it. That's not what I'm disputing. That's not my situation here. My situation here is there's a lot of smoke around here. And my job here is to go, where is that smoke coming from? Is there a fire? And then once we look at their relationship dynamics, it goes, well, the fire doesn't seem to be coming from Travis. It seems to be coming from her. So if you're about to go to the league, make sure you protect yourself if you plan on getting married with this one. I think that's pretty much what, that was where I was at. I wasn't in the pool of,
don't do it.
Yeah. Drop her and, cut off. And, although that would be nice. But hey, man, if people want to look at my track record, I done had some stuff I should have dropped. And I was still hanging around. You know what I'm saying? I had some evidence in my possessions and I still dealt with it. So I'm not saying I'm above this. So I get how it is, especially when you're a young man like Travis. So I'm not going to try to sit here and act holier than thou. But the whole thing is, if the whole internet and people that I know, Dion as well, you know what I'm saying, hey, if you look up to Dion so much, and him himself is saying, make sure you get a prenup with this situation here, I think I would listen to the person that I call a mentor and a leader in my life. You know what I'm saying? And so I think for the internet out here, it was pretty much internet concern for a young man that has such a bright and promising future. Yeah. That we've seen this story before. Hey, young man, pay attention. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I saw nothing wrong with that in the first place. But then you have these people, the peanut gallery, you know what I'm saying, being very aggressive with saying that we're trying to disturb their love. That's not what we're doing, at least not from my perspective. I think it was just concern for a young man that seems to have a bright future, and that sometimes these crazy women could destroy a man. Not just whatever. I mean, literally ruin his career. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what the internet just didn't want to see that. So I'm with Mace with this, even though I said a lot. I said a whole bunch of nothing too. In the sense that this ain't my fight. Let him love on that woman the way he want to love on her. That's fine. If he want to get married in Tennessee or wherever the hell they got married at, because they got different laws over there, but she said that's how I go, and she want to get married in Tennessee and no prenup, and he went and did all that. That's on him. All right. And I'll let him have that. You know what I'm saying? And if he end up being with this woman for 30, 40 years and they got a lovely big old family and all that stuff, that is superb. But that still doesn't remove away the initial concern that we had from all the smoke and trying to find out where that fire coming from. So, hey, man, have at it, Travis. I'm not trying to sit here and dunk on you. You know what I'm saying? You know, the dating scene ain't perfect. Nobody out here dating the perfect person. So it is what it is with that. But yeah, man, best of luck to you, bro. I wasn't surprised when I saw it was no prenup because I think the world felt that coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is with that. And I agree with Mace. And, you know, as far as Cam's perspective, I agree with that as well. You know, in the sense that why do we got to get paperwork involved? But, you know, when you're dealing with certain people, man, you know, you can't say that. You know, you can't say, let's not do the wedding. Let's not, with certain people, you know, you can't say, man, let's just love each other for life. Ain't that just as good as marriage? Yeah, good luck with that one. But what are your thoughts, man, on Cam and Mace weighing in on Travis Hunter getting married with no prenup? What are your thoughts, bro?
Well, good luck to him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very much in your camp. I'm not going to say whether it was I personally would have insisted on protections. I would have. I'm going to just, you know, protect myself because, you know, to quote Rick Ross and Drake, you know, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym, all of that good stuff. You know, I kind of built this thing. But it is what it is. He didn't go that route, didn't do the prenup thing. He didn't opt for the protections. If I am going to look at this optimistically in his favor, I'll say this. I do believe that the prospect of marriage is still, even to this day, realistic, even for people who are pro athletes. The thing that's messing it up is individuals who have no business being married, getting married. That's what's muddying the waters. You have a lot of these guys who aren't really built for marriage doing it anyway. People like Tyreek Hill. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, why are you getting married? You know you for the streets. Stop getting married. Like, just stay for the streets. Stay single. Why are you getting married? That's dumb. And you see he's going through a lot of messiness as a result. Like, he shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. A lot of these guys getting caught up in these scandalous situations when it comes to women are men who shouldn't have been getting married in the first place because they're simply not built for it. And that's okay. Just don't get married. Like, you're rich and successful. No one's holding a gun to your head saying you're incomplete if you don't get married. I don't understand the pressure that these guys feel to go through with this process when they know deep down they're not built for it. And I've said this before and I'll say it again here. Every man knows whether he's built for this or not. We all know it. Every man knows whether he is for the streets or whether he is the commitment type. We all know if we are that type. And what happens is you get a lot of guys being dishonest and they're trying to be something that they are not in order to conform to some sort of societal norm. They feel as though it's their responsibility to get married. And so they go through with the process and end up cheating on a girl or still being out in the streets doing whatever because they shouldn't have been involved in the situation in the first place. Stay single. Don't get married. No one's forcing you to do this. If she leaves you because you don't want to marry her, let her go, bro. You have your pick of the litter. What woman is going to turn down the opportunity to be with you? A high caliber professional athlete. No, most women are going to sign up for that. They will. So you really have nothing to lose by succumbing to you have nothing to lose by not succumbing to whatever pressure you've conjured up in your mind to get married. So that's what's confusing it. Because you look at, and I mentioned some of these names before, there are pro athletes who are married who seem to be fine with it. You know what I'm saying? Trevor Lawrence doesn't seem to have an issue with it. Mahomes is good with it. You look at guys like Stafford is good with it. You know, even some of the guys in the NBA who are getting married, like they're good with it. They're built for it. Steph's been married. Steph's married. He don't seem to have an issue with it. You know what I'm saying? You know, but you know, James Harden probably shouldn't get married.
Yeah, I don't think he should.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, James Harden, like if James Harden got married with no prenup tomorrow, I'd be like, what are you doing? That's dumb, bro. And the vast majority of the time that we see these situations with these pro athletes getting messy with divorces and child support and alimony and all of this other stuff, 9 times out of 10, what are the reports? Cheating, infidelity, other women. That's what it is the majority of the time. So it's like if you're gonna step out on these women, don't marry them. Stay single. And at the very least, do it when you're retired. Like if you retire after your career is over, okay, fine. Go ahead and try to get married. You have less to lose at that point. But it's still not advised because you still have the most to lose. Even if you have less to lose than when you were a player, compared to her, in all likelihood, you still have the most to lose. So I just don't get it. And the reason why I bring all of that up is to say, observing Travis Hunter, I personally get the impression that he might be someone who's built for that.
I think he's pretty solid with it.
Yeah. Like the guy's like all about football. You know, I don't really see no viral content of him being in the club or in the streets or any of that's mumbo jumbo. You know, he's not on a yacht with a bunch of sex workers twerking on him. You know what I'm saying? He, you know, when he's not all about football, he's gaming. You know, he's sitting in the crib playing Call of Duty and all of this other stuff, you know, on Twitch, streaming, playing video games. I kind of feel like his disposition and his mannerisms and his interests suggest to me that he's the kind of guy who's comfortable with commitment in marriage. And so even if there's smoke with this woman, maybe because he's built for it, he's not going to jeopardize that situation because he ain't going to be running around doing some of the stuff that these other guys do.
You know, just fair.
Right. So from that standpoint, I say good luck, bro. You know, Godspeed.
Yeah.
I would personally have insisted on the prenup, but he didn't, and it is what it is. And I just kind of feel like, you know, he's kind of a nerdy football kid. And so maybe he's good for it. He's built with it. He'll marry her and be happy, and they'll be together. Wonderful. Fairy tale, happy ending to a story. That's great. You know, but it works for a guy cut from his cloth. You know, and so from that standpoint, I optimistically say it is what it is. But to some of these other dudes out here, bro, even guys who aren't pro athletes, but just guys in general who aren't built for this, trying to fit square pegs in round holes, go on these routes with these marriages, and y'all are marrying these women, and then they're going to take you for half your stuff because you're still in the streets. Like, just stay in the streets. Stay in the streets. Especially nowadays, no one's going to chastise you or judge you too harshly for being in the streets because nowadays being in the streets is cool.
Yes, correct.
There's no social stigma attached to being in the streets. It's cool. It's liberating. So just stay in the streets if you know you're not built for this monogamy, commitment, marriage stuff. Don't muddy the waters up. And I feel like Travis Hunter won't do that. So I feel like this situation has as good a chance as any of actually making it and being successful. So, you know, mazel tov.
Yeah, hey, you know, yeah. So if there's any consolation here, you know, you can rest on that, I guess. So, hey, man, because yeah, he's a solid kid from everything that I see, and that's why everybody was concerned. You know, because he looks so solid. You know, because if he was being Zion, nobody would give a damn. They'll just clown him. You know. And but in this situation here, man, I saw more concern than clowning. So hey, you know, best of luck to this young man. You know, best of luck with all of that. It's not easy being in a relationship. It's not easy being responsible in your relationship. It's not easy fighting, man, making up after fights. And I could only imagine it's even worse when the whole internet know your dirty laundry. So I'm wishing him the best with all of that, man. You know, and hopefully he can stay focused enough to be everything that we would imagine he would be at the next level when it comes to athletics. And a very promising young man from in other areas. So yeah, man, I'm just wishing him the best, bruh. You know, of course, on the surface of things, this doesn't seem like the right step or the right move, but you know, Godspeed, bro. Like you said, man.
Yeah.
You know, Godspeed. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Good luck, man. He is going to immediately have an impact. Immediately.
I don't know, bro. With your boy Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball,
yeah, whatever.
He's gonna be able to catch a pass.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully, if they put him on defense, he's going to have an impact for sure. If they let him play both sides of the ball. But yeah, I feel you on that. You know, offensively for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I wish him the best of luck. But my theory on this stuff is because men are the most in my opinion, men play the biggest role in whether a marriage works out or not. I believe that if a marriage fails for whatever reason, it is more likely than not that the majority of the responsibility for that is at the man's feet. Not because the woman didn't do any wrongdoing, but because the man didn't steer that situation in the appropriate way. And I kind of feel like him being cut from that particular cloth, it doesn't ensure that it won't happen in that way, but it at least creates some assurances that it can, be a positive experience that does last and it doesn't end, volcanically, like so many of these other situations involving these pro athletes that we see playing out every day. So, but yeah, on that note, that's a wrap for us. Conscious Approach, we are back. Took a week off, but we are back better than ever. I am JV Wans, and that is, of course, Dogon SS. Check us out on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Hit the subscribe button. If you have not already done so, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about where we went right or wrong with any of our videos, any of our topics. Hit that like button. Don't think that it misses us the value of you hitting that like and subscribe button, because you don't have to do it. Lord knows I don't hit the like and subscribe button on every video I watch. I very seldom do it. So for me to make the effort to do it, it means that it resonated with me and I want to be a part of that community. So we do not take that for granted when you do that for us. Check us out on Instagram at ConApproach. ConApproach. Check me out on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS, and also check us out on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok as well. Slide on over to the TikTok page and follow us over there. We share our content there as well at ConApproach. ConApproach. Until next time, folks, as I always like to say, don't be a group thinker. Have a mind of your own. Think for yourself. And until next time, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, and YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace. All right. There's a social media platform, Dogon_SS out there, man. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and all that good stuff in there. And as JV Wins mentioned, all right, we out there on Spotify. You know what I'm saying? Amazon Music. Hey, man, we're also on Audible, bro. You knew that, bro? I clicked on Audible, man. I'm sitting here listening to a book. You know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, and then the next day came up with a podcast. I was like, hey, man, let me see if we on this. I clicked on that thing. Sure enough, bro, we out here on Audible, too. I said, God dang. So, hey, man, if you guys are some Audible audiobook listeners, man, our podcast out there too, man. Make sure you guys be tuning in on that. All right. So as I say on every podcast, guys, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it pure, and don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, everybody, we greatly like you for subscribing, consciously leaving comments, and all that good stuff. All right, you already know, man. I got more rings than Robert Ory. We'll see y'all on the next episode.
That's right. Thanks, everybody. Oh, shout out to Asante Johnson for chiming in on the chat. Surely appreciate it. And to everybody out there who's going to watch our videos on the upload tip, thanks in advance for leaving those comments. We are looking at them. We do engage. So thank you very much. Y'all keep us going, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Later. Cocaine. Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man.